Was it you? Did you sabotage me? Did you sabotage me, Tippy? You sabotaged me. Oh my gosh. I should probably let everybody know on Discord that I opened another one. Okay. What? That was so weird. That was so weird, Tippy. Hopefully everybody... Alright, I'm gonna have to... Hey, no! Don't try to feed the top of my head, please. Look, I already got pooped on. I don't need regurgitated food in my hair, too. I'm already gonna have to take another shower to get all this gunk out of my hair anyway. See, I'm sorry about that. I was reading and I looked back up and I was like, wait, nobody is, usually guys are kind of active in the, usually people are active in the chat, and I was like, nobody has said anything since I returned from break, and I was like, well, shit. And I looked over and it says go live. I was like, what the and it's weird because this background that I have, the background didn't even skip, but I apparently was, like, my internet went down. That's why I was blaming Tippy. Yes, you sabotaged me. I know you did. Do you guys remember? Well, I'm gonna have to start the book over again, which is a little frustrating because the first chapter is such a slog. But well, out of curiosity, what was the last thing you guys heard before I dipped? Hopefully it stays back up. I'm just gonna have to keep my eyes peeled particularly close to it to make sure it doesn't do that again. Hi. No, I do not trust you. See, I apologize for that. I didn't notice right away. I don't even know how far I got into the book before I was like, wait, nobody's here. Tippy, can you please stay off of there? I don't trust you not to accidentally. Oops. Well, now you're just being mean. The concept of people moving. Oh my god, really? Your channel's like, oh, really? Oh, wow, that's how far, wow. Yeah, I apologize, but luckily I noticed. You were supposed to warn me if it went offline, and you didn't. You were so cute, though. I can't stay mad at you. You can only see the top of her head right here, but she's all poofed out, because it's chilly outside, so I'm trying to keep it. What the heck was that? I have no idea. For some reason, I went off... Well, here's the thing. My internet clicked off just long enough for it to boot me off of stream. I know, it's so crazy. But the thing, my background, this thing was still going. If this would have paused, because I have one earbud in to listen to it to make sure it's not too loud. But if that would have paused, I would have noticed it way sooner. So it kind of sucks that it was sitting there watching the other video. Well, at least I got some of you guys. Hi, Artie. Hi, Transmission. I will say hello to everybody again. Shh. Darby, hello. Marcy, hello. Sepsis, hello. I apologize because I had to delete the last one. I'm gonna restart the story, but I'll try to go a little bit quicker through the first chapter. Because the first chapter is boring. This is the boring ass nothing going on. Remove my... Don't touch anything tips. I know it's not your I know it's not your fault that whatever happened. It was probably the wind, because the wind is really, really bad out here. My freeze frame was funny, was it? Oh, I'm sorry I didn't get to see that. Do a recap. Actually, yeah, fuck that. Because the first 2 chapters were extremely boring. If you're just tuning in, I started a previous stream and it just cut out randomly because it's incredibly windy outside. So maybe something just got knocked loose or whatever. I'm sure it's not her fault. Oh, you're so sleepy. She's doing like the heavy eyelid thing. Oh, you sleepy. You're in a bad place to take a nap, little girl. Alright, so Our main character is Hannah. She has obnoxious twin brothers named Herb and Bill. I think they said that there were 7. A mother who could not give less of a shit. And it is summer vacation. It is summer vacation, and, well, she left. I thought she was going to fall asleep up here, honestly. And all of her friends are gone. Did you guys... were you guys kicked out before I read her passive-aggressive note to her friend? And she went outside and was immediately hit by a kid riding a bike on her lawn, apparently, I guess. He's got red hair, he's got freckles, and his name is Danny Anderson. Wind is messed up down here too. You got a burn ban? Oh, that's scary. Because not only do you have to worry about that, you got to worry about somebody not listening. Not listening and causing a massive fire, because that's always fun. That's always fun to be scared about, hoping that everybody around you is as responsible as you are. You made a screenshot. Oh no! She looked relaxed. She is holding cable clippers behind her back. Even his name is lame. But he apparently lives in a house across the street that's been empty for 40 years or whatever. So those are the first 2 chapters. Like, literally nothing fucking happened. And I don't want to reread it. Because there's a whole thing about stupid-ass pulp in orange juice. And Mom almost... Yeah, seriously, post the screenshot. I'm sure it's very... I'm sure it's very flattering. And Mom almost getting 3rd-degree burns from the kids throwing... What was it, a basketball onto the stove when she was making bacon. So that's it. That's what we have. Let me see. So a homeless ghost. Oh, actually, that's a good question. Wait, no, or is that counts as a poltergeist? I can't remember what the rules are. It's like if poltergeist. If you're haunted, something you can haunt things though too, because that whole Annabelle thing makes me wonder what I would haunt. I'd haunt something incredibly stupid. All right, so I'm gonna skip to chapter 3 because I love her. You don't have Discord? Oh no! You can always send it to me on Blue Sky or Threads or Instagram, and I'll post it. I'm also prepping to play WWE 20 or 2K25. Oh yeah, you were telling me about that because I pre-ordered it. Now adding intergender matches. Does that mean both male and female can fight? It's pretty interesting. You should haunt an esoteric concept of some sort. Yeah, that sounds like something I would do just to be an asshole. Alright. I'm starting at chapter 3 because I love her passive-aggressive note to her friend who did nothing wrong except apparently is having fun. Sorry, I'm looking for my chapstick. Is apparently having fun, there it is, at camp. And is just not writing to her at every moment of every hour of every day. Alright, so chapter 3. Because nothing happened, remember, the first 2 chapters. The most important things I told you about. Okay. The mail usually comes a little before noon. Hannah rushed eagerly down to the bottom of the drive and pulled open the mailbox. No mail for her. No mail at all. Disappointed, she hurried back to her room to write a scolding letter to her best friend, Janie Pace. Dear Janie, I hope you're having a good time at camp. But not too good, because you broke your promise. You said that you would write me every day, and so far I haven't received a single crummy postcard. I am so bored I don't know what to do, and it's your fault. You can't imagine how little there is to do in Greenwood Falls when no one is around. It's really like death. This is the 90s. You have video games. There's still arcades and movie rental places. You're telling me they don't have this type of shit in this town? That's probably all they have. The sass is on. Hi, Sarah! Hi, Anthony! Sorry, my voice cracked. This excited. I haven't seen Sarah in a bit, so I'm always happy to see you when you pop up in chat. You ever think that with RL characterizes adults as very uninterested, lack of caring, that RL had a rough upbringing? I think I mean, possibly, but I think he's just writing towards younger kids, like tween, egocentric. Like they're very focused. Like young kids like that are just very focused on their tiny little like world. So I think that's just what it's like, parents just don't understand us, like type thing. So I kind of think that's more of a he doesn't want them to be too important or too interested because it's about like the 12-year-old that it's always about. If it's okay, I could post it. I could post it on my, okay. That works too. Girl has some serious separation issues. Yeah, seriously. There's a Junji Ito story like that. It ends up in a stabbing. Jesus. God. I watch TV and I read a lot. Do you believe I've already read all the books on our summer reading list? Dad promised to take us all camping in Miller Woods. Big thrill. But he's been working just about every weekend. I don't think he will. Boring. Gotta start tallying how many times this girl says boring or bored. Last night I was so bored, I marched the twins outside and built a little campfire behind the garage and She built a little campfire. She did have a dream about burning to death, so I wonder if she accidentally burnt the house down with her little campfire behind the garage and pretended we were away at camp and told them a bunch of scary ghost stories. The boys wouldn't admit it, of course, but I could see they enjoyed it. But you know how ghost stories freak me out. Then why did you tell ghost stories? You could have told like fun stories. I started seeing weird shadows and things moving behind the trees. It was really kind of hilarious, I guess. I totally scared myself. But don't laugh, Janie. You don't like ghost stories either. She's reading. It's like, Jesus. Cut Janie some slack there, Hannah. God forbid that she's not writing her friend like every freaking day. Give her, like, she's 12. Give her a break. Am I? Sorry, I couldn't tell if I was blurry or if it was because these are just reading glasses. I'm not supposed to be looking like far, so everything looks blurry from far. She killed her family, her entire family, and they are ghosts. See, that's what I'm thinking is what's happening. Because that's usually they have some type of twist, and it's something like that. My only other news is that there's a new boy who moved into the old Dotson's house next door. His name is Danny and he's our age, and he has red hair and freckles, and he's kind of cute, I think. I've only seen him once. Maybe I'll have to report more about him later. But now it's your turn to write. Come on, Janie, you promised. Have you met any cute guys at camp? Is that why you're too busy to write me? Chill out. Should be posted now. Awesome. I'll check it out when the stream's over. If I don't hear from you, I hope you get poison ivy all over your body, especially in places where you can't scratch. Love, Hannah. Ooh, kind of seems like little Hannah. Yeah, it kind of seems like little Hannah needs some therapy because Jesus. Just text her instead. This was the 90s. Dotson, we got a Dotson here. Hannah folded the letter and shoved it in an envelope. Her small desk stood in front of the bedroom window. Leaning over the desk, she could see the house next door. I wonder if that's Danny's room, she thought, peering into the window just across the driveway. Curtains were pulled over the window, blocking her view. Hannah pulled herself to her feet. She ran a hairbrush through her hair and then carried the letter to the front door. Maybe this, like I said this before, but maybe this is why nobody wants to hang out with you, Hannah. You're super duper pushy and clingy, and you're apparently a voyeur. So who the hell wants to hang out with a weird little 12-year-old like that? She could hear her mother scolding the twins somewhere in the back of the house. The boys were giggling as Mrs. Fairchild yelled at them. Then Hannah heard a loud crash, and then more giggling. I'm going out, she shouted, pushing this. Oh, sorry. I thought that was. I thought that was the mom saying, fuck this, I'm out of here. But that's Hannah saying, I'm going out. She shouted, pushing open the screen door. They probably didn't hear her, she realized. It was a hot afternoon, no breeze at all, the air heavy and wet. Hannah's father had mowed the front lawn the day before. The freshly cut grass smelled sweet as Hannah made her way down the driveway. She glanced over at Danny's house. No signs of life there. The front door was closed. The living room picture window appeared dark and bare. Hannah decided to walk the 3 blocks to town and mail the letter at the post office. Well, there's nothing else to do, she thought glumly. At least a walk into town will kill some time. The sidewalk was covered with cut blades of grass, the green fading to brown. Humming to herself, Hannah passed Mrs. Quilty's red brick house. Mrs. Quilty was bent over her garden, pulling up weeds. Hi, Mrs. Quilty, how are you? Hannah called. Mrs. Quilty didn't look up. Ugh, what a snob, Hannah thought angrily. I know she heard me. I know that bitch heard me. She's like, I'm going to make sure she has all of her carbon monoxide alerts turned off. I'm going to kill this bitch for not waving at me when I walk by. Reckon Hannah's parents wish they sent her to camp. Yeah, no shit. Didn't hear or didn't care. A little bit of column A. Time will not be the only thing killed. Yeah, is she going to turn out to be a little serial killer? Because, man, she... Oh. What is this? It said no ads, you lying liar that lies all the time. It said no ads on there. Sorry. Americans Insurance, whatever the fuck that is. I've been getting some of the weirdest goddamn ads, by the way. I've been getting ads where like a chick is just off screen jerking it, which I at first I was like, this can't be what I think it is, but no, it was like for some porn website or some hookup website. I've gotten those like random insurance companies that aren't available where I am. I've gotten some random shit, and I don't know, why. And I don't know why it's happening, but like YouTube and all the social medias have just run rampant on my end. I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know. Yeah, it's so weird. Have you guys gotten that one by chance? The one girl with like, it's cut off from here down, but she's very obviously like, you know, or well, she's just mimicking it to make it look like it. But a little jarring when I was at work watching a video about Zelda, and in the middle of the ad was this shit. I was like, what if I was like a kid watching this shit? I was like, good job, YouTube. You'll hi Zach. You'll have this shit on or as ads, but you'll demonetize us or demonetize or let people pull like shithead, hey, this is my content even though it isn't, and you have no backbone to protect them. I have premium so I don't get ads. Yeah, I'm pissed at YouTube, so I refuse to give them money. She's eating jerk chicken. Oh, gross. Ads have been weird too. A couple months ago there was a scary one with a spider. It legit scared me. Yeah, I think I got one like that too. Was it for a pest control? I also got local ads the other day for like for like a town in or like a city in Michigan or something. I was like, I am nowhere near Michigan. Why am I getting ads? It's like they're just throwing anything at the throwing anything at the wall, see what would stick. Remember when there were ads for The Nun? I think that was pulled because kids kept seeing them. Really? Wow. I get ads for a German supermarket chain all the time, but for some reason they are AI dubbed into English. I've gotten a weird, yeah. I've gotten oh God, I think it was, what is it? Gaelic? I think it was like Gaelic ads. I was like, what is happening, YouTube? I know you know where I am, so I don't know why you're throwing these things from different countries at me. Oh, say hi to the lady who named you. For those of you who don't know, Sarah's the one that came up with Tippy's name because I was struggling naming her. And it matches her so well. If you're here to take a nap, this is a really bad time for you. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a... But yeah, the commercials have been really pissing me off recently. Yeah, the first stream, she was in and out before she took off. She's clearly tired, so I don't know why she just doesn't go and find her, or go in one of her several sleepy spots and go take a nap. But I think it's just because I'm home. She won't go to sleep until... Let's see here. Oh, that's right. Mrs. Quilty didn't hear Hannah, or pretended not to hear her, so Hannah's gonna plot how to murder Mrs. Quilty in her bed while she sleeps. Your godbird? Oh, it's your godmama. You're being suspiciously good today. Like, what did you do? What did you do that I have not found yet? All right. Hannah crossed the street. The sound of a piano floated from the house on the corner. Someone was practicing a piece of classical music, playing the same wrong notes over and over, and then started the piece again. I'm glad they're not my neighbors, Hannah thought, smiling. Wah, wah. She walked the rest of the way into town, humming to herself. The 2-story white post office stood across the tiny town square, its flag drooping on the pole in the windless sky. This is when I noticed that the first stream went down. It was at this literal spot. Around the square stood a bank, a barber shop, a small grocery, and a gas station. A few other stores, Harder's ice cream parlor, and a diner called Diner stretched behind the square. 2 women were walking out of the grocery. Through the barbershop window, Hannah could see Ernie, the barber, sitting in the chair reading a magazine. Real lively scene, she thought, shaking her head. Hannah crossed the small grassy square and dropped her letter in the mailbox in front of the post office door. She turned back towards home, but stopped when she heard angry shouts. The shouts were coming from behind the post office. Hannah realized she heard a man screaming. Hannah heard boys' voices. More yelling. She began jogging around the side of the building toward the angry voices. She was near the alley when she heard a shrill yelp in pain. Oh, that was the end of the chapter. 50-50, she pooped somewhere. Who, Jenny? No, Tibby? Hannah buys stamps. A diner called Diner, where they serve food, and beer branded beer. It is kind of funny when they don't have names and it's just Diner. I've been on road trips before and driven through tiny towns that just had Diner. And burgers, yeah. Shaped like hockey masks. What a cliffhanger. I know these, they're written in a way so a young reader is compelled to read another chapter. And honestly, it's kind of a brilliant way to get them to keep reading. As adults, we can snicker at it and be like, oh, it's so stupid. But it does work. It does work to get younger readers to keep going. That's why so many chapters on younger, I don't want to say young adult because that's kind of past the age range I'm thinking of. That's why you see a lot of books end in cliffhangers. Like Wayside School, I think, has a lot of cliffhangers. God, I miss the Wayside School books. Those ones were fun. I enjoyed reading those. Always worked on me when I was 7. Yeah, see, it works really well for the youngins. All right. Chapter 4. Oh, she's doing her beat grind thing. I can hear her. She's tired. She's tired. So cute. All right, chapter 4. And yes, she probably did poop somewhere, and I will probably either step in it or put my hand in it because that's what tends. Hey. She's like, don't you accuse me of something I didn't do. Middle grade, you mean? Wayside School was a book. Was a book series. It was the one I remember reading the most was Wayside School is Falling Down. It was just a elementary school grade book. Ooh. They were from I think they were from the 90s too, but I remember discovering them and I'm like, ooh, what's this? Because the art was really cool. At least I'm pretty sure it was called Wayside School. Okay. Chapter 4. We're on page 16 of 118, but it's probably... They always have like 20-something pages of non-related stuff to the actual main story. All right, Chapter 4. Hey, Hannah called out and ran the rest of the way. What's going on? Did you sneeze? Really cute. A narrow alley stretched behind the post office. It was a hidden place where kids like to hang out. Hannah saw Mr. Chesney, the postmaster. He was shaking a fist angrily at a brown mutt. There were 3 boys in the alley. Hanny recognized Danny. He was hanging behind the 2 boys she didn't recognize. The dog had its head lowered and was whimpering softly. A tall boy, thin and lanky, with scraggly blonde hair, grabbed the dog gently and bent down to comfort it. Don't throw stones at my dog, the boy shouted at Mr. Chesney. Yeah, you're fucking... Why are you throwing stuff at dogs, you psychopath? That'd be hilarious. Jenny gets up and sees a kick me written on my back in Tiffany's poop. Oh, no, I don't do that. I like this shirt. She's like, I'm not gonna. Jeez. Stop embarrassing me, Mom. The other boy stepped forward. He was a short, stubby kid, kind of tough looking, with spiky black hair. He glared at Mr. Chesney, his hands balled into fists at his side. Danny lingered away from the others, very pale, his eyes narrowed tensely. Get away! Go! I warn you! Mr. Chesney snarled. He was a thin, red-faced man, entirely bald with bushy brown mustache under his pointed nose. He wore a tight-fitting gray wool suit despite the summer heat. You don't have a right to hurt my dog, the blonde boy insisted, still cradling the mutt. Why is she calling it a mutt? That's not nice. Lippy tippy. I know. Oh, thank you, Sarah. I do really like this. This is one of my favorite shirts. I like him. I'm sucker for embroidery. The dog's stubby tail was wagging furiously now. The dog licked the boy's hand. This is government property, the postmaster replied sharply. I'm warning you, get away from here. This isn't a hangout for you troublemakers. I'm not calling you a troublemaker. I mean, you are, but I'm not calling you a troublemaker. Tippy doesn't like it when I do voices or sing. It drives her crazy. Hello, Melanie. He took a menacing step towards the 3 boys. Hannah saw Danny take a few steps back, his expression frightened. The other 2 boys stood their ground, staring at the red-faced postmaster defiantly. They were big, Hannah saw. Bigger than Danny. They appeared to be older than him. I'm telling my dad you hurt Rusty, the blonde boy said. Tell your dad you were trespassing. Ooh, gotcha. Old man pushes dog. I mean, pushes, I was like, push, you still shouldn't be doing that because it's mean to the animal. Anything else is... Oh no, she's cleaning. I thought she was falling asleep. I think she's cleaning herself. Mr. Chesney shot back. And tell him you were rude and disrespectful. And tell him I'll file a complaint against the 3 of you punks if I catch you back here again. A complaint from where? Or a complaint to where? The ghost police. We're not punks, the heavier boy shouted angrily. Then all 3 boys turned and started running down the alley. The dog zigzagged excitedly at their heels, its stubby tail twitching wildly. Well, at least the dog wasn't hurt. I mean, maybe just momentarily. Yo, yo! The mud is the killer. Mr. Chesney stormed past Hannah, muttering curses to himself. He was so angry he pushed right past her as he made his way to the front of the post office. What a jerk, she thought, shaking her head. What is his problem anyway? All the kids in Greenwood Falls hated Mr. Chesney. Mainly because he hated kids. Yeah, well, that'll do it. He was always shouting at them to stop loitering in the square, stop playing such loud music. Oh god, he's a Karen. Or stop talking so loudly, or laughing so much, or having any joy at all. Hello, Devil Punk. I mean, to be fair, this guy seems like a real drip. I don't think I would want to be around him either. Ghost Dog. No, wait, that was a different book. I wouldn't be surprised if they reused a lot of the stuff. You haven't really missed anything yet, Punk, but I think we've all pretty much figured out the twist, unless there's going to be like a, it turns out that she's the only one that's alive. That would be like the real... Oh, hello, Machete! I can't tell if she's just cleaning herself or she's prepping to sleep. Good luck on you if you can sleep through my loud, obnoxious talking. He acts as if he owns the whole town, Hannah thought. Well, some people are that miserable, Hannah. Actually, I think you guys would make pretty decent friends because you suck too. At Halloween, Hannah and a bunch of friends had decided to go to Mr. Chesney's house. I said nothing negative about you. I just said good luck sleeping. Decided to go to Mr. Chesney's house and spray paint his windows. Well, I wonder why he hates kids. But to their disappointment, Chesney was prepared for any Halloween trick players. He stood at the ready at his front window, an angry look on his face. Hannah and her friends had gone on their way, disappointed and scared. I thought she was going to say he was out there with like a hose, just waiting for them to try something. He knows how much we all hate him, Hannah realized, and he doesn't care. The alley was quiet now. Anna headed back toward the town hall, thinking about Danny. He had looked so frightened, so pale. So pale, he seemed to fade away in the bright sunlight. Danny's two friends didn't seem frightened at all, Hannah thought. They seemed angry and tough. Or maybe they were just acting tough because Mr. Chesney was so horrible to the blonde boy's dog. Crossing the square, Hannah searched for signs of life. In his bright-lit shop, Ernie was still sitting at the barber chair, his face buried in a magazine. A blue station wagon had pulled onto the gas station. A woman Hannah didn't recognize was hurrying to get into the bank. No sign of Danny and his two friends. I guess I'll go home and catch a soap opera, Hannah thought with a sigh. She crossed the street and made her way toward home. This is like the 90s, right? Wasn't there, at this point, there were cartoons on, this isn't the 30s, or you don't have to go to an actual theater to watch a cartoon in between like the news. Say so. I can't be the only one. This reminds me of the Goosebumps movie. I can't be the only one here. I need to rewatch that movie actually. And isn't there a sequel that came out not too long ago? Just a kid walking around town full of ghosts. That'd be cool and vaguely horrifying. Even more so if she doesn't realize it. It does sound vaguely familiar. I'm gonna have to rewatch the Goosebumps movie. It's been a long time since I've watched it. I think the last time I saw it was in theaters, actually. Oh, sorry. I missed where I was. Here we go. She crossed the street and made her way slowly toward home. Tall trees, maples and birches and sassafras lined the sidewalk. The leaves were so thick they nearly blocked the sunlight. It was cooler under their shade, Hannah realized as she walked under them. She's realizing all types of stuff in this chapter. She was halfway down the block when a dark figure slid out from behind a tree. I don't know if I accidentally startled her when I moved my hand or not, but she's probably going to sleep because I'm too loud. At first, Hannah thought it was just a shadow cast by the wide trunk, but then, as her eyes adjusted to the shade, the figure became clear. Hannah gasped and stopped walking. She stared hard, squinting at him, struggling to bring him into focus. He stood in a deep blue puddle of shadow, dressed in black. He was tall and slender, his face completely hidden in darkness. This is in the middle of the day. How is this guy... Bye, Tibi. I don't know how the hell... He's managing to do that. That's actually kind of impressive there, Mr. Slenderman. Hannah felt a cold shiver of fear roll down her body. Who is he? She wondered. Why is he dressed like that? Why is he standing so still, keeping in the shadows, staring back at me from the dark shade? Is he trying to scare me? He slowly raised a hand, motioning for her to come nearer. Her heart fluttered in her chest. Hannah took a step back. Is there really someone there? He brings his own darkness. You just described him from head to toe, basically. Well, what you could see anyway. A figure dressed in black? Or am I seeing shadows cast by the trees in the middle of the day? She wasn't sure until she heard the whisper. Hannah. Hannah. The whisper was as dry as the brush of the tree leaves and nearly as soft. Hannah. A slender black shadow motioning to her with arms as bony as twigs, whispering to her. Such a dry and human whisper. Is this supposed to be death? No! Hannah cried. She spun around and struggled to run. Her legs felt weak. Her knees didn't want to bend. But she forced herself to run. Faster! Faster! Was he following her? This is the end of chapter. Is he trying to scare me? Yeah, because it's all about you, Hannah, isn't it? There's a bubble of shadows around him. Could be the ghost of Johnny Cash or the Undertaker. Sometimes it feels like that guy just writes stuff to fill in the word count. Oh, absolutely. All right. Chapter 5. With 16% through the story. Panting loudly, Hannah crossed the street without stopping to look for traffic. Her sneakers pounded against the sidewalk as she ran. One more block to go. Is he following? The shadows shifted and bent as she ran under the trees. Shadows on top of shadows, sliding over each other, gray on black, blue on gray. Hannah, the dry whisper. Dry as death. Subtle, calling to her from the shifting shadows. He knows my name, she thought, gulping for breath, forcing her legs to keep moving. And then she stopped and spun around. Who are you? She shouted breathlessly. What do you want? She's lucky she didn't just get kidnapped right there, like a fanfic writer. Yeah, that's it. That's kind of what I was thinking too. I was like, a lot of this stuff kind of reads very fan fiction-y. But he had vanished. There was a silence now, except for Hannah's hard breathing. Hannah stared into the tangle of late afternoon shadows. Her eyes darted over the shrubs and hedges of the yards on her block. She searched the spaces between the houses, the darkness behind an open garage door, the slanting gray square behind a small shed. Gone. Vanished. No sign of the black and shrouded figure that had whispered her name. Whoa, she uttered out loud. It was an optical illusion, she decided. Okay, an optical illusion. What about the thing where you heard it too? Where you heard your name? That's not an optical illusion. Her eyes still wary, studying the front lawns. No, she argued with herself. An optical illusion doesn't call your name. Yes, thank you, Hannah. There's nothing there, Hannah, she assured herself. Her breathing returned to normal. Nothing there. You're making up ghost stories. You're scaring yourself again. You're bored and lonely, so you're letting your imagination run away with you. Feeling only a little better, Hannah jogged the rest of the way home. Wow, she's just like, what are you gonna do? I do love that in these stories, and we've seen this multiple times in other Goosebumps books, where the main character has to talk themselves down, because it's been damn near almost every book. There's been like, no, relax, Shara Amber Marie, Cheryl, Lexington, Congo, 800 names for some reason. It's fine. It's nothing. I know we were literally chased by a group of people dressed in dark hoods and sickles and screaming our names and saying they were going to drink our blood, but it was probably nothing. It was probably just gas. All right. Later at dinner, she decided not to mention the shadowy figure to her parents. They would never believe it anyway. Good old 90s parents, never believing when, hey, I almost got kidnapped today. Shut up. Your right butt cheek is an optical illusion. Yeah, there it is. John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. His name is my name too. Instead, Hannah told them about the new family who had moved in next door. Huh? Someone moved in the Dotson's house? Mr. Fairchild set down his fork and knife and stared across the table at Hannah from behind his square frame. Wow, this is a sentence. Mr. Fairchild set down his fork and knife and stared across the table at Hannah from behind his square-framed, horn-rimmed glasses. That is a mouthful of a sentence. There's a boy my age, Hannah reported. His name is Danny. He has bright orange hair and freckles. That's nice, Mrs. Fairchild replied distractedly, motioning for the twins to stop shoving each other and eat their dinners. Hannah wasn't even sure her mother had heard her. How did they move in without us seeing them? Hannah asked her father. Did you see a moving truck or anything? Oh, again with the huh-uh. It's supposed to be nuh-uh or uh-uh. Weird. Mr. Fairchild muttered, picking up his silverware and returning to his roast chicken. Well, don't you think it's weird? Hannah demanded. But before either parents could reply, Herb's chair toppled over backwards. His head hit the linoleum, Jesus, and he began to howl. Her mom and dad leapt off to their chairs and bent to help him. I didn't push him, Bill screamed shrilly. I really didn't. Frustrated that her parents weren't listening to her big, interesting news, Hannah carried her plate to the kitchen. She wandered into her bedroom. Making her way to her desk, she pushed aside the curtains and peered out the window. Danny, are you in there? She wondered, staring at the curtains that covered the dark windows. What are you doing right now? A werewolf. No, we already read the werewolf one. This is something completely different. Unless it isn't. It could be werewolves, because why not? Are the twins ever named, or are they just collectively a non-entity? It's oh god, Bill and Herb. So they're like they're like old guy names. They're 80-year-old 7-year-olds, basically. And I'm pretty sure both of them have severe ADHD and need to be medicated. The summer days seemed to float by. Hannah could barely remember how she passed the time. If only some of my friends were around, she thought wistfully. If only one of my friends was around. If only one of my friends would write me. Why is nobody paying attention to me on their holidays? Doesn't everybody know that it's always about me and what I want? She was like a real busybody, probably last at recess. She's probably the hall monitor. Because you know this bitch definitely tattles. Nobody likes a snitch, Hannah. Such a lonely summer. She looked for Danny, but he never seemed to be around. When she finally saw him in his backyard one late afternoon, she hurried over to talk to him. Hi! She cried enthusiastically. He was tossing a tennis ball against the back of the house and catching it. The ball made a loud thunk each time it hit the redwood wall. I said, hi, Hannah called again, jogging across the grass. Danny turned startled. Oh, hi, how's it going? Hannah absolutely snitches on the other kids. Yeah, no. If they don't turn out all to be ghosts, the twins are going to have a rough time at the school with those names. Yeah, no shit. It's, oh god, what are the old man's? I swear to god, I have looked up the names of the old guy. Is it Statler and Waldorf? The two old Muppets? That sounds right, Statler and Waldorf. Might as well just call them that. Oh. How's it going? He turned back to the house and tossed the ball. Wow, he really does not like you. Get a hint, Hannah. He was wearing a blue t-shirt over baggy black and yellow striped shorts. Hannah stepped up beside him. Thonk. The ball hit the wall just below the gutter and bounced into Danny's hand. I haven't seen you around, Hannah said awkwardly. Uh-huh, was his brief reply. Thonk. But I saw you behind the post office, she blurted out. What? He spun the ball in his hand but didn't throw it. A few days ago, I saw you in the alley with those two guys. Mr. Chesty's a real jerk, isn't he? Hannah said. Danny snickered. When he yells, his whole head turns bright red, like a tomato. Yeah, a rotten tomato, Hannah added. What's his problem anyway? Danny asked, tossing the ball. Thonk. My friends and I, we weren't doing anything, just hanging out. He thinks he's a big shot, Hannah replied. He's always bragging about how he's a federal employee. Ooh. Yeah. What are you doing? Was that a big thing back in the 90s that I'm unaware of, being a government employee? Like, the only thing I'm aware of is that there's usually a good benefits package to that. Oh, I was right. Statler and Waldorf. Nice. I like the two old Muppets. They're funny. What are you doing this summer, she asked. Just hanging around like me? Kind of, he said. Thonk. He missed the ball and had to chase it into the garage. As he walked back towards the house, he gazed at her as if seeing her for the first time. Hannah suddenly felt self-conscious. She was wearing a yellow top with grape jelly stains on the front and her rattiest blue cotton shorts. Hannah, you are 12, not 2. Hello, little kitty. Little cute kitty. Hi. Welcome to the stream. Why is she... At least change your shirt, Hannah. Good lord. I mean, I like grape jelly as much as the next gal, but I'm not gonna wear it. Those two guys... Oh, wait, here we go. Those two guys, Alan and Fred, they're the guys I usually hang out with, he told her. Guys from school. Thunk. How could he have friends from school, Hannah wondered. I don't have friends from school. Who has friends? Didn't he just move here? Where do you go to school, she asked, dodging out of the way as he backed up to catch the ball. Maple Avenue Middle School, he replied. Thunk. Hey, that's where I go, Hannah exclaimed. How come I've never seen him there before? I mean, he knows, like, he probably met the kids and they're like, hey, we go to this middle school. You're probably going to go to this middle school too. So he just said, we go to middle school. How come I've never seen him there, she wondered? Because it's fucking summer and he just moved there. That's why. Hannah, my girl, you have been complaining about how boring this summer has been, and you're confused as to why you haven't seen him in a school that's been out all summer. You're just jelly for fashion sense. I see what you did there, Artie. Do you know Alan Miller? Danny asked, turning to her, shading his eyes with one hand from the late afternoon sun. Hannah shook her head. No. Fred Drake, he asked. No, she replied. What grade are you in? I'll be in the 8th grade this year, he said, turning back to the wall. Thunk. Me too, Hannah declared. Do you know Janie Pace? No. How about Josh Goodman? Hannah asked. Danny shook his head. Don't know him. Weird, Hannah said, thinking out loud. Danny threw the tennis ball a little too hard, and it landed on a slopey gray shingled roof. They both watched it hit and then roll down into the gutter. Danny sighed, staring up at the gutter, made a disgusted face. How can we be in the same grade and not know any of the same kids? Hannah demanded. Actually, that's kind of a good point. How big is this town? Because it kind of seems like there's 7 people here. Government jobs were huge like that was a thing. Every parent pushed. Steady work, good pay, excellent benefits, and retirement. So you're correct. Ah, I gotcha. I have no idea if it's still a thing, because I'm assuming this is taking place in the U.S. Because usually they'll say otherwise if it's not. Danny shoots the basketball at... Actually, he should have tried to bounce it off of her head a few times. Get her to go away. You are real annoying, Hannah. He turned to her, scratching his red hair with one hand. I don't know. How weird, Hannah repeated. Danny stepped into the blue, deep shadow of the house. Hannah squinted hard. He seemed to disappear in the wide rectangle of shadow. That's impossible, she thought. He disappeared through the door. Was a thing, not so much. Ah, I gotcha. Oh, that's a bummer. Isn't it nice that there's nothing nice for the next generation like there was for the previous? I would have seen him at school. If we're in the same grade, there's no way I could have missed him. Is he lying? Is he making up all this stuff? Jesus Christ. Relax, Hannah. Chill out. He's a soulless ginger. What? I forgot ginger was another, or was a term for redheaded people. That took me a second. I was like, what? He had completely vanished in the shadow. Yeah, people, if you go into a dark room, the person's gonna vanish because Oh, she's back. I'm surprised she didn't announce herself. She back, she back, she back. Hello, baby girl. I know you didn't take a nap, so I don't know what you've been up to. Besides getting into something you're not supposed to, I'm sure. Don't you poop on my head, please. I've already got that once. He is a root. I don't know, that sounds kind of accurate to me. Don't you do that to me. He keeps disappearing like a ghost. We are not having... Nope. We're not fighting. And you need to be quiet. No, you need to be quiet. If you're going to be in here. Yeah, she's up to crime. I'm telling you, she's a little Elric. She's an Elric god in the body of a tiny little bird. That's why she's so full of anger. Anger and hatred. And vengeance. Okay. A ghost. The word popped in and out of her mind. When Danny came back into view, he was pulling an aluminum ladder along the back wall of the house. "What are you gonna do?" Hannah asked, moving closer. "What do you think he's gonna do? He's gonna get his goddamn ball out of the gutter." "I'm gonna juggle it, Hannah. Jesus." "Get my ball," he replied, and began climbing the ladder, his white Nikes hanging over the narrow metal rungs. "That hurts." Hannah moved closer. "Don't go up there," she said suddenly, gripped with a cold feeling. It's like right here. I can just stand on my tippy toes to grab the ball, but I'd rather not do that. So I'm just doing this way. Don't you chew on stuff. "Huh?" he called down. He was already halfway up the ladder. You were asleep a minute, or like damn near half asleep a minute ago. How are you so full of beans again? "Come down, Danny." Hannah felt a wave of dread sweep over her, a heavy feeling in the pit of her stomach. "I'm a good climber," he said, pulling himself up higher. "I climb everything. My mom says I should be in the circus or something." Before Hannah could say anything more, he had clambered off the... You! It is rude to interrupt me. You come here. He had clambered off the ladder and was standing on the sloped roof. Why is he getting on the roof? You don't need to get on the roof to get something out of the gutter, dumbass kid. His legs spread apart, his hands stretched high in the air. "See?" Hannah couldn't shake the premonition, the heavy feeling of dread. "Danny, please!" Ignoring her shrill cry, he bent to pick up the tennis ball from the gutter. Hannah held her breath as he reached for the ball. Suddenly, he lost his balance. His eyes went wide with surprise. His sneakers slipped on the shingles. His hand shot up as if trying to grab onto something. Hannah gasped, staring helplessly as Danny toppled headfirst off the roof. Oh, God! Well, if Danny isn't a ghost, he's about to become a paraplegic. Or quadriplegic, depending on how he falls on his head. Or just dead. Or who knows, 12-year-olds are pretty resistant. I feel like Hannah would have fixated less on this whole the kid is a ghost thing if her parents got her a Super Nintendo. Yeah, at least that, or an N64. I don't know what year this came out, so who knows when this was or what system was the most popular. Hey, come here. You either need to be quiet. You need to be quiet. I'm trying to read to the good people, and I can't have you interrupting every 2 seconds. No, I can't. We will. It only takes me a few hours to read these. I know patience is not a virtue for young Tippy, Webigail, Tobias, Benevito. She's... Should get her a Tiger Electronic. Oh my God! I actually found one of those Little Mermaid ones. I couldn't get it to work, so I was super bummed. I think it's actually in this little cabinet back here. I'll have to look for it. But I found it at a dollar store for $1. Or not a dollar store, a thrift store for like $1. She doesn't like the fact that I kept taking her off my head, because that's where she wanted to be. She's only the rest of her. She certainly still has the anger of a dinosaur. Alright. Chapter 6. We're gonna find out if the redhead is gonna be dead or not. Hannah screamed and shut her eyes. "I've got to get help," she thought. Well, okay. There was a Sonic McDonald's tiger thing? That sounds cool. Streaming tiger you know what? I probably can find those, but those are also, like, not great. Like, they're barely playable. And then someone will have an iPod. Like the scare. We all think these are 90s, but then someone will have an iPod. Yeah, oh yeah, the scare, that's right. That kind of blew my mind. I was like, God damn. Redhead, more like deadhead. Psh. Okay, let's go back into the chapter. Her heart pounded. She forced herself to open her eyes and search the ground for Danny. But to her surprise, he was standing in front of her, a mischievous grin on his face. Huh? Hannah uttered a gasp of surprise. You're okay? Danny nodded, still grinning. He didn't make a sound, Hannah thought, staring at him hard. He landed without making a sound. She grabbed his shoulders. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, Danny said calmly. My middle name is Daredevil. Danny Daredevil Anderson. That's what my mom always says. He tossed the ball casually from hand to hand. You scared me to death, Hannah cried. Her fright was turned into anger. Why would you do that? He laughed. You could have been killed, she told him. No way, he replied quietly. It's kind of hard to kill a ghost. What? What? Nothing. She scowled at him, staring at his brown eyes. Do you do stuff like that all the time? Falling off roofs just to scare people? His grin grew wider, but he didn't say anything. He turned away from her and tossed the tennis ball at the house. Thunk. You were falling head first, Hannah said. How'd you land on your feet? Danny chuckled. Magic, he replied slyly. But, Hannah! She turned to see her mother calling to her from the back stoop. What? His middle name is Matt Murdock. What is it? Hannah shouted. I have to go out for an hour. Can you come take care of Bill and Herb? It sounds like they're like the elderly grandparents of the house. Not 2 7-year-olds. I've got to go. See ya. See ya, he replied, flashing her a freckled-faced grin. Thunk. Hannah heard the sound of the ball against the redwood wall as she jogged across the driveway to her house. Again, she pictured Danny plummeting off the roof. How'd he do it, she wondered. How'd he land on his feet so silently? I'll only be gone an hour, her mother said, searching her bag for car keys. How is it out? It's supposed to cloud up and rain tonight. Another weather report, Hannah thought. Well, what else is she supposed to talk to you about? Like, you guys clearly have nothing in common here. Except for being, like, maybe not the best people. Don't let them kill each other if you can help it, Mrs. Fairchild said. But, don't try too hard, because, I'd rather much have an only child at this point. Mrs. Fairchild said, finding the keys and shutting her bag. That was Danny, Hannah told her. The new kid next door. Did you see him? Again with the It's nuh-uh. I've never heard That's kind of hard to say. Sorry. Mrs. Fairchild hurried to the door. You didn't see him? Hannah called. The screen door slammed. Wow, she does not give a shit about her kids. Bill, enough to have them be watched, but apparently not enough to listen to anything this child says to her. Bill and Herb appeared and pulled Hannah into their room. Chutes and ladders, Bill demanded. Yeah, let's play chutes and ladders, Herb echoed. Yeah, let's play chutes and ladders. Hannah rolled her eyes. She hated that game. It was so lame. Fuck you, that game rules. I used to love playing that with my baby nieces and nephews. I always purposely went down chutes so I wouldn't beat them. I always let them win, because, they're little kids. You let the little kids win. She dropped down across from them on the rug. Yay! Bill cried happily, opening the game board. You'll play? Yeah, I'll play, Hannah said unhappily. I'll play your stupid, boring baby game that I hate so much, and I hate you too. You could have just said no. And we can cheat? Bill asked. Yeah, let's cheat, like Mom does when she leaves for an hour a day, Herb urged with an enthusiastic grin. After dinner, the twins were upstairs arguing with their parents over which one of them got to take the last bath. They both hated baths and always fought to be the last. Just throw these damn kids in at the same time. There. Now you go in at the same time. The faster you scrub yourself, the faster you can get out. I prefer eels and escalators. That sounds adorable if it was real. I'm wondering if World of Warcraft is still online. Oh, it's gotta be, right? That's like one of the most popular, what is it called? MMOs out there. I'd be super shocked if it closed down. Okay, sorry, I've been squishing this little piggy in my hand. Hannah helped clear the table, then wandered into the den. She was thinking about Danny as she made her way to the window. Pushing the curtains aside, she pressed her forehead against the cool glass and stared across the drive at Danny's house. Can you imagine being Danny and just, listening to music on your Walkman or whatever 90s bullshit you had? It's one of those little squishy things. And you look up and you see Hannah pressed against her glass, like heavy breathing. He's home. I can see him. Fucking weirdo. The sun had lowered behind the trees. Danny's house was cast in heavy, dark shadows. The shadows were covered with curtains and blinds. Hannah realized she'd never actually seen anyone inside the house. She'd never seen Danny go into the house or come out of it. Wait, I thought you did see him go in last chapter when he went in to go get the goddamn ladder. Man, you are really inconsistent with this unreliable narrator over here. He was listening to music on the gramophone. God. My grandma had one of those, and thinking back, I was like, oh, I would have loved to have it, because it was a legit one. It was one from, it was super old, but kids get a hold of things they're not supposed to and ended up breaking it. That sucker was probably worth a lot of money, and we ruined it because we were stupid kids and didn't quite understand it. Let's see. Hannah stepped back from the window, thinking hard. She remembered the morning she had met Danny after he had run her down in the backyard. I thought it was in the front yard. She had been talking to him, and he had vanished into thin air. She thought about how he seemed to disappear into the shadows at the side of his house, and how she had to squint real hard to see him. And she thought about how he had seemed to float to the ground, landing silently from the roof, silent as a ghost. Hannah, what are you thinking? She scolded herself. Am I making up another ghost story? It's just a brain memory. Yeah. She's gonna strain her brain from all the thinking. I mean, at least she's got more, or these main characters in these Goosebumps stories are weirdly more reasonable than a lot of adults now. They're able to talk themselves down from some of the craziest shit. Like, no, it doesn't make any sense. Meanwhile, other people or adults wouldn't do that. They're just like, oh my god, worst case scenario. That's absolutely worst case scenario. One thing you can learn from Hannah is that I guess. She suddenly had so many questions running through her mind. How had Danny and his family moved in and out, or moved in without her noticing? How could he be in her school, in her grade, without her ever seeing him there? How, again, this is the dead of summer, like the summer vacation. It's not Goosebumps if the protagonist isn't a psychopath or sociopath. Yeah, that's true. She also becomes a ghost so they can be together forever. Yeah. He's not a ghost, he's a trickster rogue with the stroll of a feather fall. You guys we're gonna have to set up a poll on who thinks she's a ghost and who thinks everybody else is a ghost. But we're only a quarter of the way through the story, so it's gonna be a minute. How come she didn't know his friends and he didn't know hers? It's all so weird, Hannah thought. I'm not imagining it at all. I'm not making it up. I mean, question for all of you guys. When you were in school, did you know every single person in your grade? Because I sure as fuck didn't. I knew like a handful of people, and they were my friends. You're thinking werewolf. I don't think it's that weird. I mean, maybe because he has bright ass red hair, not being able, like, not seeing him might be a little odd because, like, we think that would stick out. But other than that, I don't find it all that weird that they're in the same, like, school year, same grade, but they've never seen each other. There are people I went to school with for all 4 years and never knew. Like, a couple years ago, I ran into somebody, they asked me what school I went to, and I was like, oh, what year? And he was like, oh, me too. I was like, what? Okay, how? There are people, people I just, you just don't see them. Again, maybe it's just a smaller school, but I need to stop looking so much into these kids' books. You want sociopath? Look up series 2000 book Headless Halloween. You have to remind me of that one. I'll look that up. That sounds. The only thing I've learned from Hannah is how to be a narc. Yeah, no shit. Shut up, Hannah. It's also weird, Hannah thought. If I'm not imagining it all. I'm not making it up. What if Danny really is a ghost? You're jumping to a conclusion well past other things. What if he's part of the circus? Who's just really good at doing front flips and disappearing because it's part of his magician family act? You don't know. If only she had someone to talk to, someone to discuss Danny with, but her friends were all away, and her parents would certainly never listen. Hello, Tippy. Yes, hello. Never listen to such crazy ideas. I have to prove it myself, Hannah decided. I'll study him. I'll be scientific. I'll observe him. I'll spy on him. Yes, I'll spy on him. So you're gonna stalk this other child all summer, huh? Whoa, I'll go look in his kitchen window. Side, that's not weird at all. My primary school was small. Each year was only one class. I guess it just depends on how many people are in the city or the school zone. Because there was tons of people in my junior high and high school. Elementary, yeah, that one, if I remember correctly, primary, elementary, the younger classes, I remember them being smaller. Can you get off there, please? Thank you. She's gonna go look in his what was that noise? She's gonna go look in his kitchen window. That's not crazy or creepy. What if he's just a ninja? Exactly, see? I would go with ninja, circus family, or a family of magicians before I went to ghost. That just seems real weird. Hi, baby. She stepped out onto the back stoop and pushed the screen door shut behind her. It was a warm, still night. A pale silver of moon hung above the backyard in a royal sky blue. As Hannah headed across her backyard, taking long, rapid strides, Cricket... Shush. You hush. You hush. You hush now. Kitchen window candles. A pale sliver of moon hung above the backyard in a royal blue sky. That's what... Okay, I've misread that. As Hannah headed across her backyard, taking long, rapid strides, crickets began chirping loudly. Danny's house loomed in front of her, low and dark against the sky. The ladder was still propped up against the back wall. Hannah crossed the driveway that separated her yard from his. Her heart pounding, she crept across the grass and climbed the low concrete step to the back stoop. The kitchen door was closed. She stepped up to the door and pressed her face close to the window. Again, peering into the kitchen, and gasped. Kitchen Window Cannibals sounds like a metal band. Oh, someone better claim that one, because that's a good one. That's a good name, I'm just saying. Kitchen Window Cannibals. Alright, chapter 7. Hannah gasped because Danny was staring back at her from the other side of the window. Oh, she cried out, nearly toppling backwards off the narrow stoop. Inside the house, Danny's eyes opened with surprise. Behind him, Hannah could see a table set with bright yellow plates. A tall, slender, blonde-haired woman, Danny's mom, most likely. Shush. You shush. Was pulling something out of a microwave oven onto the counter. The door swung open. Danny poked his head out, his expression still surprised. Hi, Hannah. What's up? Why are you staring... Why are you sneaking around the back of our house and looking through our windows at night, you weirdo? Yeah, I agree. She's weird. Nothing. Nothing really, Hannah stammered. She could feel her cheeks grow hot and she knew she was blushing. Danny's eyes burned into hers. His mouth turned up into a grin. Well, do you want to come in or something? He asked. My mom is serving dinner, but... No! She cried much too... Oh, I'm sorry, Tippy. I scared her when I said no. She went... She cried much too loudly. I'm acting like a total jerk, she realized. She swallowed hard, staring at his grinning face. He's laughing at me. Well, I'm sorry, Hannah, you don't get to be bitchy or have your feelings hurt or anything in this scenario because he just caught you trying to look through his house or look into his house from the kitchen window. That is weird, my friend. That is a weird little girl. Starts looking through windows next to the underwear drawer. Slippery slope. Tippy doesn't like hearing no. She is uber spoiled. The only thing, I would take her more places, but when I tried to train her to get a harness on, she bit me so hard she actually broke through my nail. So I was like, all right, none of that. I was like, all right, I get it. Because she was calm until she was like, nope, change my mind, and bit me super hard. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, I remember that. I remember because that nail fell off because you bit so hard. That's when we first moved into this condo. She swallowed hard. Oh, he's laughing at me. See ya, she cried, then leapt awkwardly off the stoop, nearly stumbling onto the ground. Without looking back, she took off. You need to be quiet. You have a very loud... She spooked herself again. You have to go, aww. Well, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you staying up to watch it, Sepsis. I'm sure it's quite late over there. Tippy is like, I am descended from the great Tyrannosaurus Rex, and this gigantic primate is my servant. He doesn't want to know. Hey, Sepsis already knows the rest of the story, right? I think we all pretty much figured out the rest of the story at this point. Unless it's going to be something spectacularly stupid. Without looking back, she took off, running at full speed back to her house. I've never been so embarrassed in my life, she thought miserably. Never! When she saw Danny come out of his house the next afternoon, Hannah hid behind the garage. Watching him walk his bike down the driveway, she felt her cheeks grow hot, feeling embarrassed all over again. If I'm gonna be a spy, I'm gonna have to be a lot cooler, she told herself. Last night I lost it. I panicked. It won't happen again. She watched him climb onto his bike. So, what is this, a ghost bike? Hannah? Did he get a ghost ladder and climb? Like, I don't know why she's... a ghost bike. Sure, ghost bike. I want to, but it's... No, you're fine, Sepsis. They're just teasing you. Put her in a hamster ball? Oh, no. I put her in a hamster ball. The second I let her out, I'm not going to have eyes. You guys kind of like these the Goosebumps being read to you. I need eyeballs for that. The house was the ghost. She watched him climb onto his bike and, standing up, pedaled to the street. Pressed up against the garage wall, she waited to see which direction he turned. Then she hurried into the garage to get her bike. He's heading towards town, she saw, probably meeting those two boys. So are they ghosts too? She's not thinking any of this through. Come on, Hannah. Girl, you ain't no spy. You're not Harriet. Aw, Harriet. Rest in peace, Queen. Yeah, she was great. I loved her. It's very sad that she passed away. Also super unexpected. Her and, Hackman. Gene Hackman and his wife. That also, I actually gasped when I pulled up the news and it said that him and his wife was found. I was like, and the dog too, Jesus! Just need a compilation of just Tippy messing with Jenny on live streams. I really should have kept a tally of when she shows up, because I think my favorite of when she was messing with me is when I think it was Fatal Frame before during that stream where she was mad that I wasn't paying attention to her and I was in the middle of a boss fight. She was like hanging off my bangs right in my face. Yeah, it's been a weird one, and they always say that famous people die in threes. So I was like, all right, well, where's the third one? Who we gonna lose next? Because that's rough. She waited at the foot of the driveway, straddling her bike, watching Danny until he disappeared down the next block. Sunlight filtered through the overhanging trees as she began pedaling, keeping a slow, steady pace as she rode after him. Mrs. Quilty was out weeding her garden as usual. This time, Hannah didn't bother to call hello, because she's a bitch. Why would I ever say hello to somebody who doesn't say hello back to me? Oh, I loved Ice Princess. That was a great movie. It was a great kids movie. A small white terrier chased her for half a block, yapping loudly with excitement, and then finally giving up as Hannah pedaled away. A school playground came into view. Several kids were playing softball on the corner diamond. Hannah looked for Danny, but he wasn't there. Okay, so if he was playing baseball, did you think it was like ghost baseball? I don't know what metric she's using to decide if he's a ghost or not. She continued into town. The sun felt warm on her face. She suddenly thought about Janie. Maybe I'll get a letter from her today, she thought. She wished Janie were around to help spy on Danny. Yeah, because I'm sure Janie would be super up to this. The two of them would be a great spy team, Hannah knew. She wouldn't have lost her cool like she had last night if Janie were around. Janie probably would have talked you down from the stupid-ass idea.
At Cox Mobile, we know you need reliable.
I don't know what that is.
Wherever you do. That's why we run on the network with
What?
more nationwide coverage than T-Mobile. For a price
I don't know what that is.
so you can share your adventures from
Oh, it's internet. Okay. Okay, well, have you noticed where... Okay, never mind. Did that look like fucking Canada to you, YouTube? Why are you showing me ads from the US, from fucking Argentina, from fucking, what was the other one? From Scotland, from Quebec, which I was like, you're getting closer. You're warmer. You're warmer than you were before. They have not invented internet in Canada. You know what? You're right. I have a kite outside that's actually catching all the internet waves. Anyone else think that Janie was like 80% of Hannah's input? Probably. Yeah, actually, she was probably the one that reined her in. And now that she's gone, she is out. Yeah, she's out of control. Let's see. Several cars were parked in front of the grocery store. Two women holding grocery bags were talking on the curb. Hannah braked her bike and lowered her feet. Is this doing it every hour? Oh, it is. It's every hour on the hour. You know, no ads so you can sleep. Lying. I'm too late. I'm too far into it. I'm just gonna have to keep my eyes peeled to keep it from doing that again. Hannah braked her bike and lowered her feet to the ground. She shielded her eyes from the sun with one hand and searched for Danny. Danny, where are you? She thought. Are you with your friends? Where'd you go? He was only a block ahead of me, she thought, scratching her short hair. Has he vanished into thin air again? She rode back to the square, then checked out Harder's ice cream parlor and diner. And the diner. No sign of him. Hannah, you're a great spy, she laughed. With a sigh of defeat, she turned around and headed for home. She was nearly to her house when she saw the moving shadow. It's back, she realized. She shifted gears and started to pedal harder. Out of the corner of her eyes, she saw the shadow sliding across Mrs. Quilty's front lawn. The dark figure floated silently over the grass toward her. Hannah pedaled harder. It's back. I didn't imagine it. It's real. What can it be? I was just about to say, did she just completely forget about that thing that was chasing her earlier? Standing up, she pedaled harder, but the figure glided along with her, picking up speed, floating effortlessly. She turned to see its arms outstretched towards her. She gasped in terror. Her legs suddenly felt as if they weighed 1,000 pounds. I can't move, she thought. The shadow swept over her. She could feel the sudden cold. Stick-like black arms reaching out for her from the human-shaped shadow. Its face! Why can't I see its face? Hannah wondered, struggling to keep moving. The shadow blocked the bright sun. The whole world was blackening beneath it. Gotta keep moving, gotta move, Hannah told herself, the dark figure floating beside her, its arms outstretched. Gaping in horror, Hannah saw the bright red eyes glowing like embers from the blackness. Hannah, it whispered. What does it want from me? She struggled to keep pedaling, but her legs wouldn't cooperate. Hannah. The dry whisper seemed to circle her, to wrap her in terror. Hannah. No! She screamed as she felt herself start to fall. She struggled to keep her balance. Too late. She was falling. She couldn't stop herself. Hannah. She reached out her hands to break her fall. Oof. Hannah, you klutz. She gasped in pain as she landed hard on her side. The bike fell on top of her. How did you even fall? I don't quite understand how you managed that. The shadow figure, its red eyes glowing, moved in to capture her. Hannah! Chapter 8. This wouldn't have happened if this was Skyrim Cozy Tavern Fire 4 hours. Look, I chose one. Do you want me to switch to that one? Because I will switch to this one because this one said it was no ads and it was a lying face that lied right to my face. Chapter 8. Hannah! 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 Its whisper became a shout. Hannah! Her side throbbed with pain. She struggled to catch her breath. What do you want? She managed to cry. Leave me alone! Hannah, it's me! She raised her head to see Danny standing above her. He straddled his bike, gripping the handlebar, staring down at her. Features tight with concern. Are you okay? The shadow! She cried, feeling dazed. Danny lowered his bike to the grass and hurried over. He lifted her bike off of her and set it down beside his. Then he reached for her hands. Are you okay? Can you get up? I saw you fall. Freaking... I mean, I can't figure out how you fell, weirdo. But are you okay? The shadow, she cried, feeling dazed. Danny lowered his bike. Oh, sorry. Are you okay? Can you get up? I saw you fall. Did you hit a rock or something? No, she shook her head, trying to clear it. The shadow. He reached for me. Danny's expression changed to bewilderment. Who? Who reached for you? His eyes searched all around and then returned to her. He knew my name, Hannah said breathlessly. He kept calling me. He followed me. Danny studied her, frowning. See, that's their name if they're a couple. It's the Hanny. Did you hit your head? Do you feel dizzy, Hannah? Maybe I should go get some help. No, She gazed up at him. Didn't you see him? He was dressed all in black. He had these glowing red eyes. Danny shook his head, his eyes still studying her. I only saw you, he said softly. You were riding really fast over the grass. I saw you fall. You didn't see someone wearing black? A man chasing me? Danny shook his head. There's no one else on the street, Hannah. It's just me. Maybe I did bump my head, Hannah murmured, raising her hand to her short hair. Danny reached out a hand. Can you stand? Are you hurt? I guess I can stand. She allowed him to pull her to her feet. Her heart was still pounding. Her entire body felt shaky. Narrowing her eyes, she searched the front yards, her eyes lingering on the wide circles of shade from the neighborhood's old trees. No one in sight. You really didn't see anyone? She asked in a tiny voice. He shook his head. Just you, Spaz. I was watching from over there. He pointed to the curb. But I thought... Her voice trailed off. She could feel her face grow red. This is embarrassing, she thought. He's got to think I'm a total nutcase. And then she thought, well, maybe I am. Hannah. The shadow figure is Janie. See, that's a good twist. That would explain why she's not sending her any postcards. Unless this Janie is at the same camp that we saw where they were all... What was it? It was something... They were all ghosts in that one, too. Welcome to Ghost Camp or some dumb title, whatever. You were going so fast, he said, picking up her bike for her. And there were so many shadows from all the trees, and you were frightened. Maybe you just imagined the guy dressed in black. Maybe, Hannah replied weakly, but she didn't think so. High white clouds drifted over the sun the next afternoon as Hannah jogged down the driveway to the mailbox. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked. She pulled down the lid and eagerly reached inside. Her hand slid over bare metal. No mail, nothing. Sighing with disappointment, she slammed the mailbox lid shut. Janie had promised to write her every day. Every day. She had been gone for weeks, and Hannah still hadn't received even a postcard. None of her friends had written to her. As she trudged back down the driveway, Hannah glanced at Danny's house. The white clouds were reflected in the glass of the big living room window. Hannah wondered if Danny was home. She hadn't seen him since yesterday morning after falling off her bike. My spine isn't going too well, she sighed. No shit, Hannah. I want to go to ghost camp. You know, it sounds cooler than it actually turned out to be. Sarah, I'm going to be real honest with you. Taking another glance at Danny's front window, Hannah continued up the drive to the house. I'll write Janie again, she decided. Maybe if I threaten her with literal poisoning instead of just poison ivy on her skin, she'll write me back. I have to tell her about Danny and the frightening shadow figure and the weird things that have been happening. She could hear the twins in the den arguing loudly about which cartoon they wanted to see. Her mother was suggesting they go outside instead. She said, "Get the fuck out of the house! You guys are driving me crazy!" Hannah hurried to her room to get pen and paper. The room felt hot and stuffy. She had tossed a pile of dirty clothes onto her desk. She decided to write her letter outside, rather than just moving the dirty clothes, I guess. A short while later, she settled under a wide maple leaf tree in the center of the front yard. A blanket of high clouds had rolled over the sky. The sun was trying to poke out from the white glare. The old leafy tree protected her in comforting shade. She yawned. Hannah hadn't slept well the night before. Maybe I'll take a nap later, she thought. But first, I have to write this passive-aggressive letter. Leaning back against the solid trunk, she began to write. Dear Janie, how are you? I seriously hope you've fallen into the lake and drowned. Whoa! That's not me making that up. That is what that says. I seriously hope you've fallen into the lake and drowned. That would be the only good excuse for not writing me in all this time. It is good. How could you abandon me here like this? Next summer, one way or another, I'm going to camp with you. Well, how are you going to do that if she's a ghost? Because she's dead. Things here are definitely weird. Do you remember I told you about a boy who moved in next door? His name is Danny Anderson, and he's kind of cute. He has red hair and freckles and serious brown eyes. Okay? Well, don't laugh, Janie. But I think Danny is a ghost. I can hear you laughing, but I don't care. She's really convinced that Janie is laughing at her every single letter that she writes. Baby, you've got some deep insecurities. Mommy and Daddy need to get you to a therapist. By the time you get back to Greenwood Falls, I'm going to have proof. Please don't tell the other girls in your bunk that your best friend has totally freaked until you read the rest of this. I can kind of see why Janie hasn't been sending letters to Hannah if she's hoping that she gets poison ivy, hoping that she drowns in a lake. Like, Jesus, just because she hasn't written you, how is that going to make it? Reading a letter takes like a minute. It took me a minute. It took me like a minute to read that. And, okay, so what are you going to do for the rest of the hours and hours that you're awake during summer? Here is my evidence so far. Oh my God, it just keeps going. Number 1, Danny and his family suddenly appeared in the house next door. I didn't see them move in. If I didn't see it personally, then it never happened. Even though I've been home every day. Neither have my parents. Can't send letters without stamps. That's actually a good point. I mean, it didn't say she put a stamp in it. Maybe she's it's like, or again, maybe she has to buy stamps at the camp and didn't realize that until she got there, and she doesn't have money because, you know, what 12-year-old goes to a camp with money or with like cash on them? Usually parents put put something in like the bank for the kid. And if the kid needs more money, they'll call home and say, hey, can you put more money on my till? I can't remember what the thing is called. But don't know how it was in the 90s, but that's how it was 2000 time frame. Number 2. Danny says he goes to Maple Avenue, and he says he's going into the 8th grade just like us, but how come we've never seen him? I mean, it's almost like it's fucking summertime, like I have been saying over and over again about how boring it is. But apparently it's weird that we haven't seen him in this class, or this class yet, even though school's out for summer. He hangs out with 2 guys I've never seen before, and he didn't know any of my friends, and as you know, we are the most popular girls in school, and how dare he not know any of us? I mean, it doesn't matter that I don't know any of his friends, because who gives a shit about his friends, but the fact that he doesn't know me or any of my friends is just unforgivable. Number 3, he vanishes, poof, just like that, don't laugh. And he fell off the roof and landed on his feet. That never, ever, ever, ever happens to people. You never land on your feet unintentionally when you fall off roofs. That never happens. Ever. Without making a sound. I'm serious, Janie. 4, yesterday I was being chased by a scary shadow thing, and I fell off my bike, and when I looked up, the shadow was gone, and Danny was standing in his place, and uh-oh, this is starting to sound really crazy. Why'd you write that part down? I wish you were here so I could explain it better. It all sounds so dumb in a letter. Like I'm really messed up or something. I know you're laughing at me. Well, go ahead. We'll see who's laughing now when you have extra holes in your neck. Oh my god. What the fuck is your problem, Hannah? I was joking. Go ahead. Maybe I won't mail this letter. I mean, I don't want you to make jokes and remind me of it for the rest of my life. So enough about me. How's it going out there in the woods? I hope you were bitten by a snake and your entire body swelled up, and that's why I haven't heard from you. Otherwise, I'm going to kill you when you get back. Really? Right. Oh, so she's threatening her. This is like serial killer shit. Is it going to turn out that she actually killed Janie and she's sending letters to a child that's dead? Or she killed the entire camp and she's just sending letters to a dead camp? Yawning loudly, Hannah dropped her pen to the ground. Oh, I got that done. All right, let's go send the letter. Death threats. Yeah, if I got a letter like that, wishing that I had drowned, wishing that a snake bit me and my whole body swelled up from a allergic reaction or the venom, I don't think I would be talking to that person anymore. That just, maybe it's me, but she's starting to kill me at the very end of the letter. She's the villain of the Ghost Camp novel. Is it really that hard to draw? Like, I know kids, again, I know 12-year-olds are egocentric and are just kind of little assholes to begin with, but you know, they're kids, they're getting real close to puberty. It's what you expect, but it's not that hard to make your main character not the worst thing that I've ever read. Hi, Tippy. Yes, hello, I see you. That's my nose, yes. Okay, now it's the hourly time of Tippy coming in here to yell at me, and then she'll run away. She leaned back against the tree trunk and slowly read over the letter. Is it too crazy to send? No, Hannah, not at all. Go ahead and send it. I'm sure the freaking cops won't be at your door when your friend gets the letter. Can you imagine when she hits puberty? God. It's like, you think you're bad now. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, no, don't. Don't mind you, or don't mind me. I'm just trying to read a story to people, and you're taking all the, all the focus off. She wondered, no, I have to send it. I have to tell somebody what's going on here. Hey, maybe rewrite it just a little bit and remove the parts where you wished your friend died multiple times. Or was just in serious, horrible pain. And how terrible would Hannah feel? Well, probably not at all, but how bad would a normal person feel if they found out their friend did indeed get bit by a snake and die at camp, and you were sending all these shitty, rude letters to them? I think I would be really upset with myself. I don't think I would ever live that down on my own. They're egocentric. The argument could be made that most adults... Oh, yeah, absolutely. But 12-year-olds are egocentric by just because, you know, they're young. That's all they know. Adults have no fucking excuse for that shit. Kids, they're still learning about the world, and their world is very, very tiny. Just keep that in mind. I don't mean calling them egocentric as a negative trait. It's just it's just the world that they live in. They just have a tiny little bubble, like mom, dad, friends from school. If they go to church people or church friends. Not like they have coworkers or or anything big. Like, it's just friends and family, and it's just that's a tiny little world that they have. When they get old, again, old adults, you have no excuse to act like that. I thought she flew off. She is so quiet. She was so quiet. I didn't even notice that she was still on my shoulder. So yeah, when I call a child egocentric, I don't mean it in a negative sense. I just mean it as a description, or more of a descriptor. Where did I leave off here? I mean, except Hannah. Hannah is just a psychopath. She has to send it. It's all too weird to keep to myself. I mean, again, you wished a few times that she would die. I kind of feel like you should probably at least take that out. The sun had finally managed to burst through the clouds. The tree leaves above her head cast shifting shadows across the letter on her lap. She glanced up into the bright sunlight and gasped, startled to see a face staring back at her. Danny! Hi, Hannah, he said quietly. Hannah squinted up at him. His entire body was ringed by bright sunlight. He seemed to be shimmering in the light. I didn't see you, Hannah stammered, probably because my eyes were closed. I didn't know you were here. Give me the letter, Hannah, Danny said softly but insisting. He reached out his hand for it. Huh? Give me the letter, he demanded more firmly. Give it to me now, Hannah. She gripped the letter tightly and stared up at him. She had to shield her eyes. The bright sun seemed to shine right through him. He hovered above her, his hand outstretched. The letter. Hand it to me, he insisted. But why? Hannah asked in a tiny voice. I can't let you mail that shit, Danny told her. But it's my letter. Why can't I mail it to my friend? Maybe because you threatened to kill her. I don't know. I'm doing you a solid. Because you found out the truth about me, he said, and there's no way I'll let you tell anyone. Yeah, I agree, Tippy. This is we kind of knew this was coming. Chapter 9. So I'm right? Hannah said softly. You're a ghost? She shuddered. A wave of cold fear swept over her. When did you die, Danny? Why are you here? To haunt me? Because it's about me? What are you going to do to me? Questions raced through her mind, frightening questions. Give me the letter, Hannah, Danny insisted. No one will ever read it. No one can know. But Danny, she stared up at him, staring at a ghost. A golden sunlight poured through him. He shimmered in and out of view. She raised... Wait, so he is actually a ghost? I thought he was just fucking with her. She raised a hand to shield her eyes. He became too bright to look at. What are you going to do to me, Danny? She asked, shutting her eyes tight. What are you going to do to me? He didn't reply. When Hannah opened her eyes, she stared up at two faces instead of one. Two grinning faces. Her twin brothers pointed at her and laughed. You were asleep! Oh, god damn it, Bill said. You were snoring, Herb told her. It's like, hey, Hannah, why in your dreams were you murmuring, what are you gonna do to me, Daddy? That was real weird. Hannah blinked several times, trying to clear her mind. Her neck felt stiff. Her back ached. Here's how you were snoring, Herb said. He performed some hideous snuffling sounds. Both boys fell into the grass laughing. They rolled onto each other and began an improv wrestling match. These kids are unhinged. I had a bad dream, Hannah said, more to herself than to her brothers. They weren't listening to her anyways. She climbed to her feet and stretched her arms above her head, trying to stretch away her stiff neck. Ow! Falling asleep against a tree trunk was a bad idea. I agree, Tippy. She's throwing a fit. Yeah. What you're hearing... This is a lovebird temper tantrum. What? What? I'm sorry. Am I not paying enough attention to... Come here. You little whiner. She's so mad at me. Hey, don't chew on that. You don't need to be chewing on that. It was me, Hannah! It was me all along! Oh my god. Hannah gazed toward... Hey, quiet. Look. Tippy, you either need to be quiet. You were doing so good before. Come here. You were making this... Okay, she's gone. I was gonna say, you're making this let's read a lot longer than it needs to be because you keep interrupting. Hannah gazed toward Danny's house. That dream was so real, she thought, feeling a cold chill down her back. So frightening. Thanks for waking me up, she told the twins. They didn't hear her. They were racing down toward the backyard. Hannah bent down and picked up the letter. She folded it in half and made her way up the lawn to the front door. Sometimes dreams tell the truth, she thought. I don't know. I don't think my fingers are made out of spaghettis. She's offering commentary. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, she's like, this story's stupid and boring and nothing's happening. Sometimes dreams tell the truth, she thought, her shoulders still aching. Sometimes dreams tell you things you couldn't know any other way. I'm gonna find out the truth about Danny, she vowed. I'm gonna find out the truth if it kills me. Sweetheart. Dear sweet Hannah, you are obsessed with this nonsense because, again, she's like, oh, maybe the friends that she saw arguing with another living person, it doesn't... You're not thinking this through. How can you talk yourself down on some things, but are completely off the wall with the next ones? The next evening, Hannah decided to see if Danny was home. Maybe he'd like to walk to Harder's and get... That is a terrible, terrible name. Just for anything. Walk to Harder's and get ice cream cones, she thought. She told her mother where she was going and made her way across the backyard. I love that her parents are just like, yeah, sure, as long as it means you're not in the house, it's fine, go. Stay gone all day, all night, I don't care. It had rained all day. The grass glistened wetly, and the ground beneath her sneakers was soft and marshy. A pale crescent-shaped moon rose above the wisp of a black cloud. Wait, she's letting her kid go out at night? I thought this was the daytime. The night air felt tingly and wet. Hannah crossed the driveway, then hesitated a few yards from Danny's back stoop. A square dim of yellow light escaped through the window at the back door. She remembered standing at this door a few nights before and being totally embarrassed when Danny opened the door and she couldn't think of a thing to say. At least this time I know what I'm gonna say, she thought. Taking a deep breath, Hannah stepped into the light, the square of light on the stoop. She knocked on the window of the kitchen door. She listened. The house was silent. She knocked again. Silence. No footsteps to answer the door. She leaned forward and peered into the kitchen. Oh! Hannah cried out in surprise. Danny's mother sat at the yellow kitchen table, her back to Hannah, her hair glowing in the light of the low ceiling fixture. She had both hands wrapped around a steaming white coffee mug. Why doesn't she answer the door? Hannah wondered. She hesitated, then raised her fist and knocked loudly on the door. Several times. Through the door, she could see that Danny's mother didn't react to the knocking at all. She lifted the white mug to her lips and took a long sip. Her back to Hannah. Answer the door! Hannah cried aloud. She knocked again and called, Mrs. Anderson! Mrs. Anderson, it's me, Hannah! The most important person in this town! Hello? From next door! Under the cone of light, Danny's mother set the white mug down on the yellow table. She didn't turn around. She didn't move from her chair. Mrs. Anderson! Why do people keep ignoring me? Hannah raised her hand to knock and then lowered it in defeat. Why doesn't she hear me? Hannah wondered, staring down at the woman's slender shoulders, at her hair gleaming down past the collar of her blouse. Why won't she come to the door? Maybe because you're insufferable. I don't know. That would be my thought, anyway. I know why she doesn't answer the door. Overcome with fear, Hannah uttered a low moan and backed away from the light off the stoop and into the safety of the darkness. Dun dun dun! Chapter 10. If I ignore her, she'll go away. Exactly. She doesn't want to deal with this obnoxious neighbor kid that her son caught peering through their window the other day. She's like, I am not dealing with whatever this shit is. All right, chapter 10. We are 43% through this story. Trembling all over, Hannah wrapped her arms around her chest as if shielding herself from frightening thoughts. If Mrs. Anderson doesn't hear me because she isn't real, Hannah realized. She isn't real. She's a ghost, like Danny. A ghost family has moved next door to me. A ghost family moved into the house drinking from a ghost mug, riding a ghost bike, using a ghost ladder, playing with a ghost ball, setting a ghost table with ghost cutlery and plates. And here I am, standing in this dark backyard, trying to spy on a boy who isn't even alive. Here I am, trembling all over, cold with fear, trying to prove what I'm already sure of. He's a ghost. His mother's a ghost, and the kitchen light went out. The back of Danny's house was now completely dark. The pale light of the crescent moon trickled onto the glistening wet grass. Hannah stood listening to the silence, trying to force the frightening thoughts that crowded her mind until it felt as if her head were about to burst. Where is Danny? She wondered. Crossing the driveway, she headed back to her house. She could hear music and voices from the TV in the den. She could hear the twins' laughter floating out from upstairs window of their room. Ghosts, she thought, staring at the lighted windows, like bright eyes shining back at her. Ghosts. Ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts.
Find a friendly Italian restaurant with
all right,
tortilla nearby.
I'm clicking off of this. You just deal with that right now. And then I'll just do this little thing. I'll just come over here. There we go. And I'll be a little bit smaller so I can see the... Hold on. So you can see the music. Or not the music, the art. Move that out of the way. There you go. You can look at this stuff for... I'll just... Oh, wait. There we go. Make it a little bit bigger so you don't get bugged with my... my icons. That was a close one. Alright. It's a lot brighter in here now, at least. Fallout 76. Yes! It was gifted to me by transmission. And then there's the Psychonauts that I'll eventually complete. The thought made her feel less frightened. She suddenly realized her throat was dry. The night air felt hot and sticky against her skin. She thought of ice cream again. Going to Harder's and getting a double scoop cone seemed like an excellent idea. Cookies and cream, Hannah thought. Really? That's the best. Not only is she insufferable, she has garbage taste. I like cookies and cream, okay, but it's definitely not my favorite. She could already taste it. She hurried into the house to tell her parents she was walking into town. Wait, she already said that that's what she was doing. Like a sentence ago. She hurried into the house to tell her parents she was walking into town. At the doorway of the pale, dark paneled den, she stopped. Her parents, bathed in the glow of the TV screen, turned to her expectantly. What's up, Hannah? She had a sudden impulse to tell them everything. And so she did. Oh, honey, you're gonna be ghost cookies and cream. The people next door, they're not alive, she blurted out. They're ghosts. You know what just occurred to me? I have a VPN up. That's probably why I'm getting commercials from not anywhere near me. I'm a fucking idiot. But it's also on my phone, and my phone doesn't have VPN. So that still doesn't explain everything. Is this an allegory for Hannah blossoming into womanhood and her trying to understand her feelings for this boy? Now that would be a twist. That seems a little too good for a little too good for a Goosebumps book. She blurted out, "They're ghosts. You know, Danny, the boy my age, he's a ghost. And I know he is. And his mother, Hannah, please, we're trying to watch TV." Her father said, pointed the TV with the can of Diet Coke in his hand. "They don't believe me," she thought. Then she scolded herself. "Of course they don't believe me. Who would believe such a crazy story?" Now that's a plot twist. In her room, she took a $5 bill from her wallet and shoved it into the pocket of her shorts. Then she brushed her hair, studying her face in the mirror. "I look okay," she thought. "I don't look like a crazy person. I mean, you were walking around with a shirt that had a bunch of grape jelly on it earlier." Her hair was damp from the wet night air. "Maybe I'll let it grow," she thought, watching it fall into shape around her face. "I should have something to show for this summer. I mean, you read all those books. That's a pretty decent thing to that's a lot of books. At least I think so anyway." Ooh. She stepped back out in the warm, wet darkness and jogged down the front lawn to the sidewalk and headed towards town and Harder's ice cream parlor. The tall, old-fashioned looking street lamps cast circles of blue-white light along the street. The trees trembled in soft gusts of wind, rustling over the sidewalk as Hannah stepped beneath them. The ghosts on the sidewalk, she thought with a shiver. Ghosts on the sidewalk, she thought with a shiver. That sounds like an indie band. Ghosts on the Sidewalk. Reading is for nerds. I agree. They seemed to reach down for her with leafy arms. As she neared town, a strange feeling of dread swept over her. She quickened her pace as she passed the post office, its windows as black as the sky. The town square was deserted, as she saw. It wasn't even 8 o'clock, and there was no cars passing through town. No one on the streets. "What a hick town," she murmured under her breath. God. Behind the bank, she turned onto Elm Street. Harder's ice cream parlor stood on the next corner. A large red neon ice cream cone on its window cast a red glow on the sidewalk. "At least Harder stays open past dark." That's a sentence. As she walked closer, she could see the glass front window of the small shop propped open invitingly. She stopped a few feet from the door. The feeling of dread suddenly became overpowering. Despite the heat of the night, she felt cold all over. Her knees trembled. What's going on, she wondered. Why do I feel so strange? As she stared through the red glare of the neon cone into the open doorway, a figure burst out, followed by another and another. Into the light they ran, their faces twisted in fear. Staring in surprise, she recognized Danny in front, followed by Alan and Fred. They held ice cream cones in front of them. They ran from the store, bent forward as if straining to flee as fast as possible. Their sneakers thudded against the pavement of the sidewalk. Hannah heard loud, angry shouts from inside the shop. Without realizing it, she had moved close to the door. She could still hear the three boys running away, but she could no longer see them in the darkness. She turned and felt something hit her hard from behind. "Oh!" she cried out as she was thrown heavily onto the hard pavement. It's an ice cream shop. It's cold in there. Yeah, seriously. Hannah is going to go May on that ginger boy. There's a compliment to my writing in there somewhere. It was a compliment, like I said. It's a little too advanced for a Goosebumps book. Chapter 11. Hannah landed hard on the sidewalk on her elbows and knees. The fall took her breath away. A burning pain shot through her body. What happened? What hit me? Gasping for breath, she raised her head in time to see Mr. Harder barrel past her. He was shouting at the top of his lungs for the boys to stop. Hannah slowly pulled herself to her feet. Whoa, she thought. Harder is really mad. Standing up straight, her bare knees throbbed with pain, her heart still thudding loudly. She glared after the store owner. He could have at least said he was sorry he knocked me down, she thought angrily. She leaned over to examine her knees in the light from the ice cream parlor. Were they cut? No, just a little bruised. Brushing off her shorts, she glanced up to see Mr. Harder hurrying back to the store. He was a short, fat man with curls of white hair around his round, pink face. He wore a white, long apron that flapped in the wind as he walked, his fists swinging at his sides. Hannah ducked back out of the light behind a wide tree trunk. A few seconds later, she could hear him back behind the counter, complaining loudly to his wife. What's wrong with these kids? He bellowed. They take ice cream and run out without paying? Don't they have parents? Don't they have anyone to teach them right and wrong? Mrs. Harder murmured something to soothe her husband. Hannah couldn't hear the words. With Mr. Harder's angry shouts filling the air, she crept out from behind the tree and hurried away in the boy's direction. Why did Danny and his friends pull such a stupid stunt, she wondered. What if they'd been caught? Was it really worth being arrested and getting a police record for an ice cream cone? Would that be? Would they go through all that trouble for three dumb kids stealing ice cream cones? Halfway down the block, she could still hear Mr. Harder bellowing with rage from inside his small shop. Hannah started to run, eager to get away from his angry voice. Her left knee ached. Why didn't she go in and was like, hey, you knocked me down. Oh, wait, I can't because then I'll be revealed early that I'm a ghost. She was out of the town square now, running past dark houses and lawns. She turned a corner, the street lamp casting a cone of white light all around her. More houses with only a few porch lights lit. No one on the street. Such a boring little town, she thought again. She stopped short when she saw the three boys. They were halfway up the block, huddled behind a tall, wall-like hedge. Hey, you guys! Her voice came out as a whisper. Oh, well. Hey, you guys! Running in the street, she made her way toward them quickly. As she came closer, she could see them laughing together, enjoying their ice cream cones. They hadn't seen her. Hannah made her way into the deep shadows on the other side of the street. Keeping it in the dark, she crept closer until she was in the yard across the street from them, hidden by a bushy evergreen shrub. Fred and Ellen were shoving each other playfully, enjoying their triumph over the store owner. Danny stood by himself behind them against the tall hedge, silently licking his cone. Harder was having a special tonight, Alan declared loudly. Free ice cream! Good job. I thought you were going to puke your guts out. No way, Danny insisted. I was the first one out there. You know, you guys were so slow, I thought I would have to come back to rescue you. Yeah, for sure, Fred replied sarcastically. Danny's acting tough, Hannah realized. He's trying to be like them. It was kind of exciting. You don't know Danny, Hannah. Jesus. That was kind of exciting, Danny said, tossing the remaining cone onto the hedge. But maybe we better be careful, you know, not hang around there for a while. It's not like we robbed a bank or something, Alan said. It was just ice cream. Fred said something to Alan that Hannah couldn't hear, and the two boys started wrestling around, uttering high-pitched giggles. Hey guys, not so loud, Danny warned. I mean, let's go back to Harder's, Alan suggested. I want 2 scoops. Yeah, that's a great idea, you dumbass. You gotta love these kids. They're driving me crazy. Shoplifting is the novel's villain. Fred hee-hawed and slapped Alan a high five. Danny joined in the laughter. Hey guys, we should get going, Danny said. Before his friends could reply, the street filled with light. Hannah turned to see 2 bright white lights looming towards them. Car lights. The police, Hannah thought. They're caught. All 3 of them are caught. Yeah, I'm sure the police would have responded to this. It's more like the cop will just be like, well, that sucks. You're out $3. Chapter 12. The car stopped. Hannah peered from behind the shrub. Hey, you kids, the driver called to the boys in a gruff voice. He poked his head out the car window. It isn't the police, Hannah realized, breathing a long sigh of relief. The boys froze against the hedge. In the dim light from the street light, Hannah could see that the driver was an elderly man, white hair, wearing glasses. We're not doing anything, just talking, Fred called to the man. Do any of you know how to get to Route 112? The man asked. The light went on inside the car. Hannah could see a road map in the man's hand. Fred and Ellen laughed, relieved laughter. Danny continued to stare at the driver, his expression still frightened. Route 112? The man repeated. Main Street turns into Route 112, Alan told the man, pointing in the direction the car was heading. Go up 2 blocks, then turn right. The light went out in the car. The man thanked them and drove off. The boys watched until the car disappeared in the darkness. Fred and Alan slapped each other high fives. Good job giving directions to that old man. Then Fred shoved Alan into the hedge. They all laughed giddily. Hey, look where we are, Alan said, surprised. The boys turned towards the driveway. From her hiding place across the street, Anna followed their gaze. At the end of the hedge stood a tall wooden mailbox on a pole. A hand-carved swan head perched on top of the box, which had graceful wings jutting out from its side. It's Chechny's house, Alan said, making his way along the hedge toward the mailbox. That sounds like a really pretty mailbox, honestly. He grabbed the wings with both hands. Do you believe this is a mailbox? Chesney carved it himself, Fred said, snickering. What a dork, having a talent of carving stuff. Ugh. It's his pride and joy, Alan sneered. He pulled open the lid and peered inside. Empty. Who would write him? Danny declared, trying to sound as tough as his 2 friends. Hey, I got an idea, Danny, Fred said. He stepped behind Danny and started shoving him toward the mailbox. Whoa, Danny protested. But Fred pushed him into the mailbox. Let's see how strong you are, Fred said. Hey, wait, Danny cried. God, this is so fucking boring. Who cares what these 3 assholes are doing? And Hannah leaned out from behind the low shrub. Whoa, she muttered to herself. Now what are they gonna do? Take the mailbox, she heard Alan order Danny. I dare you. We dare you, Fred added. Remember what you told us about dares, Danny? How you never turn one down? Yeah, you told us you never turned down a dare, Alan said, grinning. Danny hesitated. Well, a heavy feeling of dread formed in the pit of Hannah's stomach. Watching Danny step toward Mr. Chesney's hand-carved mailbox, she suddenly had a premonition. A feeling that something really terrible was about to happen. Is Mr. Chesney gonna come out with a fucking shotgun and gun them all down? Because that's probably the darkest thing I can think of. And then it turns out, oh no, he just got a splinter from the swan carving. As she started taking a deep breath, she stepped out from behind the bush. She started to call out to them, but everything went black. What had happened? Her first thought was that the street lamp had gone out. But then Hannah saw the 2 red circles glowing in front of her, the 2 glowing eyes surrounded by darkness. The shadow figure rose up inches in front of her. Inches? So it's only a few, it's like this tiny. It's like, Hannah, Hannah. It's like the little dad flower at the end of the other I said Ghostbusters, Goosebumps book. The 2 glowing eyes surrounded by darkness. The shadowy figure rose up inches in front of her. She tried to scream, but her voice was muffled in its... Oh, inches in... Okay, so it was rising up really close in front. Okay, sorry, I misread that. She tried to scream, but her voice was muffled in its heavy darkness. She tried to run, but it blocked her path. The red eyes burned into hers. Closer, closer. It got me now, Hannah knew. Chapter 13. Hannah, it whispered, so close she could smell its hot, sour breath. Its whisper like crackling dead leaves. The ruby eyes burned like fire. Hannah felt the darkness circle around her, wrap around her tightly. Please. Oh, hello again. Please. That was really loud. No, well, we're back to being yelled at by a tiny little bird. Yes? More grievances, I imagine? Yeah, you're pissed at me for something else, huh? Hannah. And the light returned. Hannah blinked, struggling to breathe. Yeah, a sour odor lingered in her nostrils, but the street was bright now. Car headlights washed over her. Hey, hush. Hey, you don't need to be doing that right in the microphone, because you are very loud. It's actually kind of impressive how loud something so tiny can be. I'm sorry, did that offend you? Pay attention to me. You know what I would dare Danny to do? Dare Danny to find the thread that keeps the story moving. Seriously. I agree. You know what? I agree. This book is not very good, but you know, maybe it's a slow burn. We don't know. Maybe it's gonna be real good. You're right. It's not. I don't know why I'm being so. Car headlights. Hey. Car headlights washed over her. It's gone. Hannah realized. You hush. Hannah dropped to the ground. Come here. Here. Ooh, look. Pay attention to you. Look at me paying attention to you. Let's get going, Danny urged. No way, not yet, Alan said, stepping in front of Danny. Hey. You're forgetting about our dare. Fred shoved Danny towards the mailbox. Get away from there, please. Hey, you. Sorry, guys. Come here. You don't need to be on that. Yes, chew on my hand or something. Just be quiet. The light had chased the shadowy figure away, but would it return? Hey, wait! Oh, I never said I'd do it, Danny spun around. I dared you to take the... Shh. Yo, come here. Here, go over here. Here's your main enemy. Pay attention to this thing. Yeah, see? You made me lose my spot. I dared you to take the mailbox, Fred told him. Remember, you told us you never turned down a dare. Alan laughed. Chesney will come out tomorrow and think his swan flew away. I love how you keep the faith alive. Like, I'm trying, alright? I'm trying to keep it... to keep it as entertaining as possible. And luckily, Tippy is also up to the challenge, because she's being a little firebrand right now. Let's see. You chicken! Look at the chicken, Fred said in a mocking baby voice. Cluck, cluck. I'm not a chicken, Danny snapped angrily. Prove it. He grabbed Danny's hands and raised them to the carved wings that stretched out from the side of the mailbox. Go ahead. Prove it. Don't do it, Danny, Hannah urged silently from her dark hiding place in the street. Don't do it. I'm kind of surprised she just was accosted by the scary thing that disappeared after car headlights scared it away or whatever. And now she's back to focusing on this stupid-ass conversation that has been going on for 2 chapters. Like, Jesus. What a riot, Fred declared. The town postmaster, his mailbox flies away. Another set of car headlights made the 3 boys back away from the mailbox. The car rolled past without slowing. Let's go, it's getting late, Hannah heard Danny say, but Fred and Alan insisted, teasing him, challenging him. As Hannah stared into the white light of the street lamp, Danny stepped up to Chesney's mailbox and grabbed the wings. Danny, wait! Hannah cried, but he didn't seem to hear her. With a loud groan, he began to tug. It didn't budge. He lowered his hands to the pole and wrapped them around tightly just below the box. He tugged again. It's in really deep, he told Alan and Fred. It's probably cemented into the ground, you dumbass kids. I don't know if I can get it. Try again, Alan urged. We'll help you, Fred said, placing his hands above Danny's on the box. Pull together, Alan urged, on the count of 3. I wouldn't do that if I were you, examined a gruff voice behind them. They all turned to see Mr. Chesney. Now it's the other bird's turn to listen to her get angry and scream. They all turned to see Mr. Chesney staring at them from the driveway, his face knotted in a furious snarl. I'm starting to understand why Mr. Chesney, I think it is, why he hates these fucking kids so much. I mean, I'm starting to hate these damn kids, and they're just names on a paper in a book. Chapter 14. We are halfway through this goddamn book and nothing has happened. Nothing interesting, nothing funny, or... Well, you know what? I take it back. Her super from passive to actively aggressive letters to her friend. That's pretty entertaining. I'll give that. Okay. Chapter 14. Mr. Chesney grabbed Danny's shoulders and pulled him away from the mailbox. One of the wooden swan's wings came off in Danny's hand. As Mr. Chesney wrestled them away, Danny let it drop to the ground. You punks! Mr. Chesney sputtered, his eyes wide with rage. Let go of him! Hannah screamed from across the street, but fear muffled her voice. Her cry came out as a whisper. How convenient that every single time she's trying to yell something out loud to scare off anybody else, or to, I guess, I'm guessing Danny can see ghosts, that, she can't do it. It's just, it comes out as a whisper. I remember you, Mr. Chetney called after them. I remember you. I'll see you again, and next time I'll get you all. Oh, I missed the part where they all took off running. Sorry about that. Mr. Chesney bent down to pick up the broken swan's wing. He examined the wooden wing, shaking his head angrily. Then she began running, keeping in the dark front yards, hidden by hedges and low shrubs, running in the direction Danny and his friends was headed. She saw the boys turn a corner and kept running. Keeping well behind, she followed them through the town square, still deserted and dark. Even Harder's ice cream parlor was closed now, and the shop dark behind the red glare of the neon window sign. Two dogs, tall and ungainly mutts with thin, scraggly frames, crossed the street in front of them, trotting slowly out for their evening walk. The dogs didn't even look up as the boys ran past. Halfway up the next block, she saw Fred and Alan collapse beneath the dark tree, giggling up at the sky as they sprawled onto the ground. Danny leaned against the wide tree trunk, panting loudly. Fred and Alan couldn't stop laughing. Did you see the look on his face when that stupid wing dropped off? Fred cried. I thought his eyes were going to pop out, Alan exclaimed. I thought his head was going to explode. Danny didn't join in on the laughter. He rubbed his shoulder with one hand. He really wrecked my shoulder when he grabbed me, he said, groaning. You should sue him, Alan suggested. He and Fred laughed uproariously and slapped each other high fives. These kids do nothing but high five each other over nothing. They're so congratulatory towards each other over nothing. No, really, Danny said quietly, still rubbing his shoulder. He really hurt me. He swung me around. I thought, what a creep, Fred said. We'll have to pay him back. You heard what he said about getting us. The other two boys laughed scornfully. Yeah, for sure. He'd really come after us. Alan scoffed, brushing blades of freshly cut grass from his scraggly hair. The respected town postmaster chasing after innocent kids, Fred said, snickering. No way. He was just trying to scare us. Right, Danny? Danny stopped rubbing his shoulders and frowned down at Alan and Fred, who were still sitting in the grass. I don't know. Ooh, Danny is scared, Fred said. You're not scared of that old geek, are you? Alan demanded. Oh my God. It just keeps going. I don't care about these three kids. Jesus. It just keeps going and going and going. Oh, he's scared. Oh, you're afraid. I'm not scared. Oh, yes, you are scared. Let's make him angrier. Yeah, I bet we could. You're a chicken. Jesus Christ. It's getting late, Danny said, trying to read his watch in the dark. I promised my mom I'd get home. Fred climbed to his feet and moved next to Alan. We should teach Chechny a lesson. You just said that. Last page. All they're just... He was really going for a page count here. We should teach him not to pick on innocent kids. You guys were in the middle of vandalizing his property. You're not innocent. I gotta get home. I'll see you guys tomorrow, Danny said, waving. Okay, see you, Fred called after them. At least we got free ice cream tonight, Alan exclaimed. As Danny walked away quickly, that was like 4 chapters ago, too. That's God. They focused so much on these three hooligans. As Danny walked away quickly, Hannah could hear Alan and Fred giggling their gleefully high-pitched giggles. Free ice cream, she thought, frowning. Those two guys are really looking for trouble. She couldn't. I mean, at least they're not doing meth. That could be worse in a tiny town. She couldn't help herself. She had to say something to Danny. Hey, she called, running up to catch up to him. He spun around, startled. Hannah, what are you doing here? Why are you following me around, you freak? I followed you from the ice cream store, she confessed. You saw everything? She nodded. Why do you hang out with those two guys? She demanded. He scowled, avoiding her eyes and picking up his pace. They're okay, he muttered. They're going to get in big trouble one of these days, Hannah predicted. They really are. Danny shrugged. They just talk tough. They think it's cool, but they're really okay. They stole ice cream cones. That is a capital offense. You could be put to death for that, Hannah decided. She said enough. They crossed the street in silence. Hannah glanced up to see the pale crescent moon disappear behind the black wisps of clouds. The streets grew darker. The trees shook their leaves, sending whispers all around it. Danny kicked a stone down the sidewalk. It clattered softly onto the grass. Hannah suddenly remembered going over to Danny's house earlier to get him. I went over to your house tonight, if that doesn't make it even more creepy for you, she said before I went into town. Danny stopped and turned to her, his eyes studying hers. Yeah? I thought maybe you'd want to walk into town or something, Hannah continued. Your mom was home, in the kitchen. He continued to stare at her as if trying to read her thoughts. I knocked and knocked on the kitchen door, Hannah said, tugging a strand of blonde hair off her forehead. I could see your mother at the table. She had her back to me, but she didn't turn around or anything. At least they're not doing meth. Hard left her out of nowhere. Well, she's making it so, yes, stealing ice cream from a small ice cream shop that's family owned is really shitty, but she's making it sound like they're that they perform like armed robbery. And I was like, look, this is nothing. They could be doing hard drugs at 12. Danny didn't reply. He lowered his eyes to the pavement and started walking again, hands shoved in his pockets. It was so strange, Hannah continued. I knocked and knocked, really loud, but like your mother was in a different world or something. She didn't answer the door and she didn't even turn around. Their houses came into view ahead of them. A porch light sent a yellow glow over Hannah's front yard. On the other side, or at the other end of the driveway, Danny's house loomed in darkness. Hannah's throat felt suddenly dry. She wished she could ask Danny what she really wanted to ask. Are you a ghost? Is your mom a ghost? That was the real question in Hannah's mind, but it was too crazy, too stupid. Danny, why didn't your mom answer the door? She asked quietly. Danny turned at the bottom of her driveway. His expression set, his eyes narrowed. His face glowed eerily in the pale yellow light from the porch. Why? Hannah repeated impatiently. Why didn't she answer the door? To me. I'm, like, important. It's illegal to do not pay attention to me and do what I ask. Just saying. I guess I should tell you the truth, he said finally, his voice a whisper, as soft as the whisper of the shuddering trees. My mom finds you annoying, much like the majority of the other people in town. Sorry you're hearing it from me. Chapter 13. We're past the middle point, guys, which is all right. God. Danny leaned close to Hannah. She could see his red hair was matted to his forehead by sweat. His eyes burned into hers. There's a good reason why my mother didn't answer the door, Danny told her. Because she's a ghost, Hannah thought. She felt a cold shiver roll down her back, a tremor of fear. She swallowed hard. Am I afraid of Danny? She asked herself. Yes, a little, she realized. Her scary dream about him flashed into her mind. Yes, a little scared. You see, Danny started, then hesitated. He cleared his throat, and then he shifted his weight nervously. You see, my mom is deaf. What? Why is he acting like this is something to be ashamed of? Huh? Anna wasn't sure she heard that correctly. It wasn't at all what she expected. She got this inner ear infection, Danny explained in a low voice, keeping his eyes trained on Hannah, in both ears a couple of years ago. The doctors treated it, but the infection spread. They thought they could save one ear, but they couldn't. It made her completely deaf. Oh, so you mean... Yeah, that's why she couldn't hear you knocking, you sensitive dick. Danny explained. She can't hear anything at all. He lowered his eyes to the ground. I see, Hannah replied awkwardly. I'm sorry, Danny, I didn't know. I thought, well, I don't know what to think. Mom doesn't like people to know, Danny. Okay, Mom doesn't want people. Okay, how is she gonna play that off? If she's 100% deaf and she doesn't want people to know she's deaf, how is she gonna play that off? She thinks people will feel sorry for her if they know. She hates to have people feel sorry for her. She's a really good lip reader. She usually fools people. But okay, but eventually it's gonna be discovered. Like what if you notice that she's always like staring at you intently, like watching your lips? Or you happen to say something and happen to notice every time she's not facing you, she doesn't respond. Huh? It's gonna come out. This is such an odd thing to feel insecure about. This is really, really weird. It's never lupus. Except that one episode when it was lupus. Yeah, this is an odd, very, very odd. I mean, I guess if it's a small town, I can maybe understand it being... No, I tried. No, even in small town, deaf people have... Are you listening to me? Be quiet. I don't know what that was about. My phone does this thing where it looks like it's listening to me, and I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know how to turn that off, because it does that... The iPhone, it does like the little glow around it. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I gotta figure out how to turn that off. Stop listening in on my conversations, even if they are stupid, even if they're being live streamed. I won't say anything, Hannah replied. I mean, I won't tell anyone. She suddenly felt very stupid. Her head lowered, she made her way up to the driveway toward her front walk. See you tomorrow, Danny called. Yeah, okay, she replied, thinking about what he had just told her. She looked up to wave goodnight to him, but he had vanished. It's learning. Or he went into his house. Why does she assume every time he's not doing the Batman thing? He probably just walked into his house, lady. Hannah turned and began jogging around the side of the house toward the back door. Danny's words troubled her. She realized all of her thoughts about ghosts may have been a big mistake. Yeah, no shit! Did you forget about the part that that he's interacting with other people? Like unless that was that a ghost mailbox? Like, Hannah! Jesus! Her parents were always predicting that someday her imagination would run away with her. Maybe it has, Hannah thought unhappily. Maybe I've totally lost it. She turned the corner of the house and started towards the back door, her sneakers squishing on the soft, wet ground. The light over the porch sent a narrow cone of white light on the concrete stoop. Hannah was nearly to the door when the dark figure wrapped its black shadow, its eyes glowing red like hot coals, stepped on into the light, blocking her path. Hannah, stay away, it whispered, pointing menacingly at her with one long, shadowy figure. I'm really confused by... Oh, is this gonna be like a real dopey... Okay. Chapter 16. Gripped with horror, Hannah Hannah thought the shadow of the evil grin inside the deeper shadow that hovered over the stoop. What? Hannah thought she saw the shadow of an evil grin inside the deeper shadow that hovered over the stoop. Hannah, stay away from Danny. No! In her panic, Hannah didn't even realize that the howl came from her own throat. The red eyes glowing brighter in reaction to her scream. The fiery stare burned into her eyes, forcing her to shield her face with both hands. Hannah, listen to my warning. The dreadful dry whisper. The whisper of death. The black finger outlined in the white porch light pointed at her, threatening her again. And again, Hannah cried out in a hoarse voice of terror, "No!" The dark figure swept closer, and then the kitchen door swung open, throwing a long rectangle of light over the yard. "Hannah, is that you? What's going on? Are you being threatened by a demon out here again?" Her father stepped into the light, his features knotted with concern, his eyes peering into the darkness through his square eyeglasses. "Dad!" Hannah's voice caught in her throat. "Look out!" She pointed to empty air, pointed to the empty rectangle of light from the kitchen door, pointed to nothing. Look out for the nothing! The shadow figure had disappeared once again, her mind spinning in confusion, feeling dazed and terrified. She hurried past her father into the house. Well, I mean, if nobody's going to listen to you, what are you going to do? At this point, you're just going to have to go full throttle crazy. She had told her parents about the frightening dark figure with the red glowing eyes. Her father carefully searched the backyard, his flashlight playing over the lawn. He found no footprints in the wet, soft ground, no signs at all of an intruder. Hannah's mother had gazed intently at her, studying her, as if trying to find some kind of answer in Hannah's eyes. "I'm not crazy," Hannah stammered angrily. Mrs. Fairchild's cheek, I like how she doesn't have a name. The parents don't have names. Turned pink. "I know that," she said tensely. "Should I call the police? There's nothing back here. Our kid's fucking crazy," Mr. Fairchild said, scratching his thinning brown hair, his glasses reflecting the light from the kitchen ceiling. "I'll just go to bed," Hannah told them, moving abruptly to the door. "I'm really tired." Her legs felt trembly and weak as she hurried down the hall to her room. Sighing wearily, she pushed open her bedroom door. The dark, shadowy figure was waiting for her by her bed. I thought it said it was sitting on her bed, just like sitting cross-legged. Finally, made it in. That was a short chapter. Chapter 17. Hannah gasped and started to back away, but the hall light fell into the bedroom. She realized she wasn't staring at a frightening figure at all. She was staring at a long-sleeved dark sweater she had tossed over the bedpost at the foot of her bed. Okay. "What a night!" she exclaimed out loud. She couldn't decide whether to laugh or cry. She clicked on the bedroom ceiling light and then closed the door behind her. As she made her way over to the bed to pull the sweater off the bedpost, she was shaking all over. She pulled off her clothes quickly, tossing them onto the floor, and put on a nightshirt. Then she climbed under the covers, eager to go to sleep. "Ew, you didn't shower? You've been running all day?" "Yeehaw!" It got all sentimental. "Yeehaw!" I was trying to do a gruffle dad voice, but it didn't really come out the way I wanted it to. It's like, kid, again, you're 12, so, baths and showers aren't really your priority, but honey, you've been running around all night, like, sweating and running around in the wet and the cold. Like, yeah, your legs are definitely covered in sweat and mud and stuff. God, at least run a wet cloth over you. God. She couldn't stop her mind from worrying around over all that happened. She couldn't stop the frightening pictures from playing in her head. The shadows of the tree limbs from the front yard shifted and bobbed across the ceiling. Normally, she found their silent dance soothing, but tonight the moving figures frightened her, reminded her of the menacing dark figure that had called her name. She tried to think about Danny instead, but those thoughts were just troubling. Danny is a ghost. Danny is a ghost? The phrase repeated again and again in her mind. He had to be lying about his mother. The most reasonable explanation, and he must be lying about it. He made up that story about her being deaf because he doesn't want me to figure out she's a ghost too. Questions she couldn't answer. If Danny's a ghost, what is he doing here? Why did he move into next door to me? Why does he hang out with Alan and Fred? Are they ghosts too? Jesus Christ. This girl is driving me fucking crazy. You're a ghost. That's what I'm assuming. I am assuming you're a ghost at this point. I thought it was going to be everybody was a ghost. It's just a whole ghost town, but maybe not. Is it trying to keep me from proving that Danny is a ghost? Oh, why did the dark figure tell me to stay away from Danny? Is it trying to keep me from proving that he's a ghost? Finally, Hannah fell asleep, but even in sleep, her troubled thoughts pursued her. The sinewy black shadow followed her into her dreams. In the dream, she was standing in a gray cave. A fire burned brightly far in the distance at the mouth of the cave. The black figure, its red eyes glowing brighter than fire, moved closer to Hannah, closer and closer. And when the black figure came so close enough for Hannah to reach out and touch it, the shadow figure reached up with its stick-like arms and pulled itself apart. It reached up with its ebony hands with bone-like fingers pulled away from the darkness where its face should be, revealing Danny underneath. Danny leering at her with glowing red eyes that burned into hers until she woke up gasping for breath. No, she thought. No, Danny isn't the Black Shadow, because that doesn't really make any sense. Why would he it also doesn't make any sense that Danny's a ghost, but it's probably going to end up that Danny's a ghost because why not? It can't be Danny. That dream makes no sense. But I thought dreams are trying to tell you the truth about something, Hannah. Or did you change your mind about that now? Because that was a previous chapter, so it's not real anymore. Hannah sat up. Her bedclothes were damp from sweat. The air in the room hung heavy and sour. She kicked off the covers and lowered her feet to the floor. She only knew one thing for certain after a long night of frightening thoughts. She had to talk to Danny. She couldn't spend another night like this. She had to find out the truth. That morning after breakfast, she saw him kicking a soccer ball around in his backyard. She pulled open the kitchen door and ran outside. Hey, Danny! Are you a ghost? Annie. Hannah, sweetie, darling, this obsession with Danny is unhealthy. That's putting it lightly. This is restraining orders level of creepy. What? Oh, chapter 18. What? Danny glanced at her, then kicked the black and white ball against the side of the garage. He was wearing a navy blue t-shirt over denim shorts. He had blue and red Cubs cap. Or is he also wearing different ghost outfits too? Are you a ghost? She repeated breathlessly. He wrinkled his forehead, squinting at her. Yeah, sure, he said. The ball bounced across the grass. No, really, Hannah insisted, her heart pounding. The ball bounced high off the garage. He kicked it again with his chest. What did you say? He scratched the back of a knee. He's staring at me as if I'm nuts, Hannah realized. Maybe I am. Never mind. She swallowed hard. Can I play? Sure. I really want to play with somebody who just accused me of being a ghost. That was pretty wild last night, Danny said, kicking the ball gently to her. I mean, at Mr. Chesney's. The ball got to Hannah. She chased after it and kicked it back. Normally, she was a good athlete, but this morning she was wearing sandals. Not the best for kicking a soccer ball. I got really scared, Hannah admitted. I thought that car had stopped was the police, and yeah, that was kind of scary, Danny said. He picked the ball up and hit it back to her with his head. Do Ellen and Fred really go to Maple Avenue School? Hannah asked. The ball hit her ankle and rolled towards the driveway. Yeah, they're going to be in the 9th grade, Danny told her, waiting for her to kick the ball back. They're not new kids? How come I've never seen them? She kicked the ball hard. Danny moved to his right to get behind it. He snickered. How come they've never seen you? He isn't giving me any straight answers, Hannah realized. Why would he know, though? Why would he know why you don't know the friends and the friends don't know you? Maybe ask them. I think my questions are making him nervous. He knows I'm starting to suspect the truth about him. Alan and Fred want to go back to Chesney's, Danny told her. Why? Ow, I can't play soccer in sandals. She missed the ball and kicked up a clod of grass. They want to go back tonight to pay Mr. Chesney back for scaring us. He really hurt my shoulder. I think Alan and Fred are looking for trouble. Yeah, no shit, Hannah. Well, there's nothing else to do in this town, Danny shrugged. The ball rolled between them. I got it, they both yelled in unison. They both chased after the ball. Danny got to it first. He tried to kick it away from her, but his foot landed on top of the ball. He stumbled over it and went sprawling onto the grass. Hannah laughed and jumped over him to get to the ball. She kicked it again against the side of the garage, then turned back to him, smiling triumphantly. One for me, she declared. He sat up slowly. Stained grasses smeared the chest of his t-shirt. Oh, are those ghost grass stains on his ghost t-shirt? Help me up. She reached up his hands to hers. Hannah reached to pull Danny up, and her hands went right through him. Da, da, da. Chapter 19. They both uttered startled cries. Come on, help me up, Danny said, her heart pounding. Hannah tried to grab his hand again, but her hands went right through his. Hey, Danny cried, his eyes wide with alarm. He jumped to his feet, staring at her hard. I knew it, Hannah said softly, raising her hands to her cheeks. She took a step back away from him. Knew what? He continued to stare at her, his face filled with confusion. What's going on, Hannah? Stop pretending, Hannah told him, suddenly feeling cold all over despite the bright morning sunshine. I know the truth, Danny. You're a ghost. What? His mouth dropped open in disbelief. He pulled off his Cubs cap and scratched his hair, staring hard at her for a while. You're a ghost, she repeated, her voice trembling. Me? No way, you're crazy. I'm not a ghost. Without warning, he stepped in front of her and shot his hand out at her chest. Hannah gasped as his hand went right through her body. She didn't feel a thing. It was as if she wasn't there. Danny cried out and jerked his hand back as if he had burned it. He swallowed hard, his expression tight with terror. You, he stammered. Hannah tried to reply, but the words caught in her throat. Giving her one last horrified glance, Danny turned and began running full speed toward his house. Hannah stared helplessly after him until he disappeared through the back door. The door slammed hard behind him. She's a ghost! She can just go through the door! Hannah is going to single white female this whole thing. Start looking and dressing like Danny, or like looking and dressing like his mom, hoping, hello, Danny! Would you like some hot dogs? She'd do like the Mrs. Doubtfire, but as a ghost, I guess? Single white female ghost. Dazed, Hannah turned and began to run home. She felt dizzy. The ground seemed to spin beneath her. The blue sky shimmered and became blindingly bright. Her house tilted and swayed. Danny's not the ghost, she said out loud. I finally know the truth. Danny's not the ghost. I am. Oh no. Yeah, we fucking called it from like the first chapter. Kid. Don't call it the ghost next door because we're just going to assume one of you guys is a ghost. Chapter 20. Hannah stepped up to the back door, then hesitated. I can't go back in now, she thought. I have to think. Maybe I'll take a walk or something. She closed her eyes, trying to force her dizziness away. When she opened them, everything seemed brighter, too bright to bear. Stepping carefully off the back stoop, she headed towards the front, her head spinning. I'm a ghost. I'm not a real person anymore. I'm a ghost. Voices broke into Hannah's confused thoughts. Someone was approaching. She ducked out of sight behind the big maple tree and listened. It's a perfectly lovely house, Hannah recognized Miss Quilty's voice. My cousin from Detroit looked at it last week, another woman said. Hannah didn't recognize her. Peering out from behind the tree trunk, Hannah saw that it was a thin, haggard-looking woman wearing a yellow sundress. She and Mrs. Quilty were standing halfway up the drive, admiring Hannah's house. Afraid she might be You know, if you want to know for sure if you're the ghost or not, jump out in front of these ladies. And if they don't see you, boom, problem solved. Well, I mean, there's a new set of problems, but problem solved on that end. So I don't quite know what she's up to here. Hannah ducked behind the tree. Did your cousin like the house? Mrs. Quilty asked her companion. Too small, was the curt reply. What a shame, Mrs. Quilty said with a loud sigh. I just hate having an empty house on the block. But it's not empty, Hannah thought angrily. I live here. My whole family lives here. Don't we? How long has it been vacant? The other woman asked. Ever since it was rebuilt, Hannah heard Mrs. Quilty reply. Oh, they both sound the same. It's fine. I'm just going to do the snobby voice for both of them. You know, after that dreadful fire, I guess it was 5 years ago. Fire? Mrs. Quilty's friend said. That was before I moved here. Did the whole house burn down? Pretty much, Mrs. Quilty told her. It was so dreadful, Beth. Such a tragedy. The family trapped inside. Such a beautiful family. A young girl, 2 little boys. They all died that night. My dream, Hannah thought, gripping the tree trunk to hold herself up. It wasn't a dream. It was a real fire. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have put that in the very first chapter, because immediately we're like, oh, well, you're a ghost. You died of fire. Tears streamed down her face, her legs. Wait, so she's crying ghost tears? Tears streamed down her face, her legs felt weak. Wait, she also gets tired, though. She has to sleep? She has to eat? Dad was eating a chicken earlier. Is it supposed to be a ghost chicken? Oh, hi, Ronan. It's been a while, my fiance Oh no! Ronan, I'm sorry. Well, that's a bummer. I'm really sorry. You always have us, though. That's not a very good consolation prize, but at least you have us. I will try to stream more so we can keep everybody company. All right. I am very sorry about that, Ronan. That really sucks. Let's see here. Where was I? Her legs felt weak and trembly. Her ghost legs felt weak and trembly. She leaned against the rough bark of the tree and listened. How did it happen? Miss Quilty's friend asked. Do you know what started the fire? Oh, yes. Some kids had some kind of a campfire out back, behind the garage, Mrs. Quilty continued. When they went inside, they didn't put it out. I called it. When they went inside, they didn't put it out completely. The house caught fire after they'd gone to sleep. It spread so quickly. The hell was your house made out of? Hannah saw the 2 women peering thoughtfully at the house from their position on the driveway. They were shaking their heads. The house was gutted, then completely rebuilt, Mrs. Quilty was saying. No one's ever moved in. It's been 5 years. Can you imagine? I've been dead for 5 years, Hannah thought, letting the tears roll down her cheek, the ghost tears. No wonder I didn't know Danny or his friends. No wonder I haven't gotten any letters. Oh, so were those ghost letters? Were those ghost letters too? No wonder I haven't heard from any of my friends. I've been dead for 5 years. Now Hannah understood why sometimes time seemed to stand still, and sometimes it floated by so quickly. Ghosts come and go, she thought sadly. Sometimes I'm solid enough to ride a bike or kick a solid ball, and sometimes I'm Okay. Sometimes she's solid enough to ride a bike. So you're telling me, because nobody else can see her, apparently it's just Danny who can see her, you're telling me that people would see just a bike, just on its own, just going down the road, and everyone's like, it seems fine. That one ball looks like it's kicking itself around the yard, but that's gotta be nothing, right? Nothing to be alarmed about. They did not think this story through. It probably would have been easier if they made the bullshit thing. It's like, oh, the bike's tire's flat, so now I gotta walk everywhere. Ugh, worst summer ever. And then I want to have to imagine a fucking ghost bike just riding around town and nobody giving a shit. And sometimes I'm so flimsy, someone's hand goes right through me. Hannah watched the two women make their way down the block until they disappeared from view. Clinging to the tree trunk, she made no attempt to move. It was all beginning to make sense to Hannah. The dreamlike summer days, the loneliness, the feeling that something wasn't right. But what about Mom and Dad? She asked herself, pushing her. Didn't you just hear what the lady said? What about the twins? Do they know? Do they know we're all ghosts? Mom! She burst into the house and ran into the hall of the kitchen. Mom! Where are you? Bill! Herb! Silence. No one was there. They were all gone. Oh. Chapter 21. You always have us, Ronan. Like I said, I know it's not much, but it's something. Chapter 21. Where are you? Hannah cried aloud. Mom! Bill! Herb! Apparently she doesn't give a shit about her dad. Because she didn't mention. Were they gone forever? We're all ghosts, she thought miserably. All of us. And now they've left me here by myself. Her heart pounding, she gazed around the kitchen. It was bare, empty. So was she frying ghost bacon in the beginning of the beginning of the movie, or the book? God damn it. Beginning of the book. It was bare, empty. No cereal boxes on the counter where they were usually kept. No funny magnets on the refrigerator. No curtains on the window. No clock on the wall. No kitchen table. Where are you? Hannah called desperately. She pushed away from the counter and went running through the house. All empty, all bare. No clothing, furniture, lamps, posters, or books on the bookshelves. Gone. Everything gone. They left me here, a ghost all by myself. I've got to talk to someone, she said out loud. Anyone! She searched desperately for a telephone until she found a red one on the bare kitchen wall. Who can I call? Who? Well, no one. I'm dead. I've been dead for 5 years. Well, shit, this is... Time to become a Jim Giga Chad. Hell yeah, Ronan! Pump them ions. Well, it's nice to have you back. It just sucks that's the circumstances. I heard The Monkey was really good. I'm gonna have to watch that one. It's on my list. She picked up the receiver. Oh, so now she can pick up the... all right. She brought it to her ear. Silence. The phone was dead too. With a hopeless cry, Hannah let the receiver fall to the floor. Her heart thudding, tears once again rolling down her cheeks. She flung herself onto the bare floor. Sobbing softly to herself, she buried her head in her arms and let the darkness sweep over her. When she opened her eyes, the darkness remained. She pulled herself up, not sure where she was at first. Feeling shaky and tense, she raised her eyes to the kitchen window. Outside, the sky was blue-black. Night. Time floats in and out when you're a ghost, Hannah realized. That's why the summer seemed so short and so endless at the same time. She stretched her arms towards the ceiling, then wandered from the kitchen. Anyone home? She called. She wasn't surprised by the silence that greeted her question. Her family was gone, but where? I'm assuming they moved on to the after. I don't know why it took her realizing where she, where that she was a ghost for them to move on. And yeah, I was about to say, I was like, maybe it was just her that died, but the old lady said it was the whole family. As she made her way through the dark, empty hallway toward the front of the house, she had another premonition, another feeling of dread. Something bad was going to happen. Worse than everything has already happened? Now? Tonight? Well, you have to understand, like, I'll tell it to you, or I'll explain it to you this way as somebody who also is a gym goer, a lady at the gym. A lot of the times, the ladies they're just there to work out. They just want to work out and go home. And I know a lot of married women who won't wear their wedding rings because, you know, if you're working out, sometimes you swell. You can't do the handlebar things without it hurting, like pinching. So some of them won't wear them into the gym. But it's just, they just want to, as far as, this is my perspective. I want to go to the gym. I want to work out because I don't want to chatting up people because I'm all sweaty and gross and out of breath. You got swamp ass. You want to go home after all that and take a shower. It's nothing personal towards you. It's just people want to just go in, they want to get their workout done, and they want to get out and on with their lives. Oh, what happened? Oh, okay, I see. Something bad was going to happen. Now? Tonight? She stopped at the front door, or she stopped at the open front door and peered through the screen door. But Ronan, yeah, it's not anything personal. It's just kind of the way most ladies are. Like, I'm not trying to speak for all chicks. Like, that's how I am. I want to go in, want to work out, want to go home and shower because I fucking hate sweating. I hate the feeling of sweat and I hate not smelling good. So I go right home and shower. That's all I care about after. And I'm too busy listening to music and running and working out. Just want to get in and out. But yeah, it's nothing personal to you. I have heard online dating sucks. I've heard, like, sometimes people luck out. I know 2 people who, I don't know if they're married yet. I lost contact with them about 5 years ago, but they met on Twitter of all things, and they were engaged the last time I talked to them. So it's random sometimes. You never know. Hey, Danny was on his bike pedaling slowly down his driveway. He seems to be real over coming into contact with a ghost. Impulsively, Hannah pushed open the screen door and ran outside. Hey, Danny! He slowed his bike and turned to her. Danny, wait! She called, running across her yard towards him. No! His face filled with fright. He raised both hands as if to shield himself. Danny, go away, he screamed. Please stay away. He gripped the handlebars and began pedaling furiously. You were hanging out with her just fine. Like, if I found out tomorrow or now, like, my friend shows up, oh, I was a ghost the whole time. I was like, ooh, rad. So can you go into like a bank and come out with money? Because can you go and get all that money? So what are they going to do? Throw you in jail? You're a fucking ghost. They can't, nothing can hold ghosts unless they make oh shoot, they might make a ghost jail. But you are going to have a ghost friend. Think of the possibilities, Danny. You are blowing this. I mean, yeah, it's Hannah. And so, yeah, kind of a crapshoot there. But come on. She seems real desperate for friends, so you can probably use this. If they want, yeah, that's true. Let them come to you. But I'm sure it's the same for guys. I'm sure a lot of guys they're there to work out and not bother anybody. They just want to work out, go home and shower. Or a lot of times people will shower at the gym. I can't do that. I gotta go home. Ghost friends, I wish I had one because I would have someone to. Oh, I'm kind of like a ghost person. Like, I'm not there, but I am. Most shit happens when you're not looking for it. That's pretty accurate, actually. Hannah jumped back, stunned and hurt. Don't be afraid of me, she shouted after him, cupping her hands. Please, Danny, don't be afraid. Leaning over the handlebars, he rode away without looking back. She uttered a hurt cry. I mean, you were stalking him earlier, and you're all upset that he's like, nope, done with this. As Danny disappeared down the block, the feeling of dread swept over her. I know where he's going, she thought. He's meeting Alan and Fred. They're going to Mr. Chesney's house. They're going to get revenge on him. And then something very bad is going to happen. And I'm going there too. I'm going to get my ghost bike. She hurried to the garage to get her bike. I was just joking. All right, how do you control how incorporeal or how corporeal, how do you know, now that you know you're a ghost, How does she know how to control it? Or is this just like a thing, like a second nature? Mr. Chesney had repaired his mailbox, Hannah saw. The hand-carved swan wings floated out from the pole, which had been returned to its erect position. Crouching behind the same low evergreen, Hannah watched the three boys across the street. They hesitated at the edge of the yard, hidden from the house by a tall hedge. In the pale white light of the street lamp, Hannah could see them grinning and joking. Then she saw Fred shove Danny toward the mailbox. Hannah raised her gaze beyond the hedge to Mr. Chesney's small house. Orange light glowed dimly from the living room light. The porch light was on. The rest of the house sat in darkness. Was he home? Hannah couldn't tell. Chesney's beat-up old car wasn't in the driveway. Hannah crouched down behind the evergreen. It's prickly. You're a ghost. No one can. You know you're a ghost. Why is she I don't get what she's. Why she's hiding from them. I don't get it. She watched Danny struggle to pull up the mailbox. Alan and Fred were standing behind him, urging him on. Danny gripped both jutting wings and pulled. Fred slapped him on the back. "Harder!" he cried. "What a wimp!" Alan declared. Hannah kept glancing nervously up to the house. The boys were so noisy. What made them sure Chesney wasn't home? What made them so sure that Chesney wouldn't keep his promise and come after them? She shuddered and felt a trickle of Jesus Christ. Perspiration slid down her forehead. Just say sweat. You said sweat earlier. Perspiration. I said perspiration. She watched Danny tug furiously at the mailbox. With a hard pull, he tilted it at an angle. Fred and Alan cheered gleefully. Danny began to rock the mailbox, pushing it with his shoulder and then pulling it back. It was coming loose, tilting farther with each push and pull. Hannah heard Danny's loud groan as he gave one final strong push, and the mailbox fell to the side. I can't believe this is a major plot point. Is mild vandalism. Fred and Alan cheered and slapped high fives. These kids are so dorky. They have no room calling anybody else dorks or nerds or anything. Fred picked up the mailbox and hoisted it over his shoulder, then paraded back and forth. Maybe you guys should be running. As they celebrated, Hannah glanced over the hedge to the dimly lit house. Maybe he wasn't home. Maybe the boys would get away with it. But why did Hannah still have the heavy feeling of dread weighing her down? She gasped as she saw a shadow slide past the corner of the house. "Mr. Chesney? No." Squinting hard in the dim light, Hannah felt her heart begin to thud against her chest. No one was there. But what was that shadow? She'd definitely seen it. A shape darker than you know what it is. Fred had tossed the mailbox into the hedge. Now they had moved toward the driveway. They were discussing something, arguing loudly. Alan laughed. Fred gave Alan a playful shove. Danny was saying something, but Hannah couldn't hear. "Get away," Hannah urged in her mind. "Get away from there. You pulled your stupid prank. You had your stupid revenge. Now get away before you get caught." Wow, Hannah's actually saying something that doesn't sound ridiculous. Yeah, you did your stupid prank. Now you need to run. You need to get the hell out of the way. The evergreen limbs bobbed silently in the gust of hot wind. Hannah stepped back into the darkness, keeping her eyes on the boys. They huddled together at the bottom of the driveway. They were talking excitedly, all three at once. Then Hannah saw a flicker of light. It was a glow for a moment, then it went out. It was a match. Oh my God. Are these guys little serial killers? Did they murder Hannah and his family? Is that why the ghost was telling her to stay away from him? Alan was holding a large box of kitchen matches. Hannah glanced nervously at the house. All was still. No Mr. Chesney, no shadows slithering across the wall. "Just go home. Just please go home," she silently urged the boys. "Go and scare them. You're a ghost. He's scared of you. That's the best way to do it. Just whoa, whoa. Just do that shit." But to her dismay, they turned and began jogging up the gravel driveway. They ducked low as they They ducked as low as they ran, trying not to be seen from the house. What are they doing? Hannah wondered, feeling all of her muscles tighten in dread. A shiver of fear ran down her back as she stepped from behind the evergreen. What are they going to do? She made her way quickly across the street and ducked in front of the hedge, her heart pounding. Should she follow them? They only one can see you. She stood up slowly and raised herself on tiptoes to see over the hedge. The three boys, Alan in the lead, followed by Danny and Fred, were bent low, running rapidly across the front of the house. Caught in the dim orange glow of the light from the window, Hannah could see their determined expressions. What were they planning? Still no sign of Mr. Chesney. Keeping close to the hedge, Hannah made her way to the driveway. Then, without thinking about it, without even realizing it, she was running too. She stopped short as she saw Alan shove Danny up into an open window. Oh, wow. So they went from just like minor vandalism. Now they're breaking and entering, and they're probably going to commit arson. Can you blame them if they did murder Hannah? Well, how does he not recognize her, though? Well, I guess like 5 years. It's not like oh, wait, 5 years, they're 12. That's, they were real young when they committed their first murder. Oh my God. Like 7, 8-year-old kids. Then Fred stepped forward, lifting his hands to the window ledge and allowing Alan to give him a boost. No! Hannah wanted to cry. Don't go in the house! Don't go in there! But she was too late. All three of them had climbed into the house. Breathing hard, Hannah began to creep toward the window, but halfway there she felt something grab her leg and hold her in place. Chapter 22. Is it the scary thing? Oh, for fuck's sake. She struggled to free her leg and quickly realized she had stepped in a coiled garden hose. Exhaling loudly, she lifted her... Was it a ghost? Was it a ghost coiled garden hose? Why do these things affect you? But I don't... You always remember life's firsts. She really hasn't made a case. Yeah, I have been solidly not in Team Hannah. What are they doing in there, she wondered, her entire body tight with fear. Walk through the walls! You're a ghost! Bright lights against the side of the house made Hannah jump back with a startled cry. She dropped to the ground and spun. You're a ghost! They saw headlights, car headlights floating toward the driveway. Mr. Chesney, was he returning home? Hannah opened her mouth to call out a warning to the boys, but her voice was caught in her throat. Again, how convenient that any time that she wants to call, but you know you're a ghost. Only Danny would probably be able to hear you. The car rumbled silently on. It wasn't Mr. Chesney, Hannah realized. She struggled to her feet and returned to her place below the window. She decided she had to let the boys know she was there. She had to get them out of there. I mean, they kind of get what they deserve, whatever it is that they're going for here. It kind of sounds like they're about to light this guy's house on fire. And they're also real stupid because all they gotta do is piece together, See, the other day... There were these 3 little assholes who broke my mailbox, and now it's broken again, and oh look, my house is currently on fire. I wonder who did this. How does a ghost get caught in anything? See, this whole movie, they get tickles when a ghost goes through walls. Actually, I wonder, or maybe it's like, when your hand falls asleep. That's what it feels like throughout your whole body when you go through walls. Danny, she called out, wrapping her hands around her mouth. Come on, get out of there! Get out of there now! The feeling of dread weighed her down. She shouted up to the window again. Hurry, please! She could hear their muffled voices inside, and she could hear the scrapes of sneakers on the floor. Are you crazy? She shouted. Oh, wait. Staring up at the window, she saw a light come on. Orange light. Dim at first, then brighter. Turn off the light! Are you crazy? She shouted into them. Why aren't they turning on... Why on earth are they turning on the lights? Do they want to get caught? Turn off the lights, she repeated. But the orange light grew brighter and brighter. And as and as she stared in horror, Hannah realized the light was flickering. Not lamplight, firelight! Fire! What? Why? They had set a fire! This is... God damn, these kids... No! She screamed. Get out of there! She could smell smoke now. Ghosts can also smell stuff. They can eat, they can get tired and sleep, and they can smell stuff. She could see the reflection of the leaping flames in the window glass. She stared and she started to shout at them again, but stopped when she saw the shadow move towards her on the wall of the house. It was a dark figure, blacker than the night, its red eyes glowing brightly from the blackness of its face. It stepped towards her, silently, floating rapidly over the tall, weed-strewn grass. Hannah, get away! The moving shadow called in a voice as dry as dead leaves. Hannah, stay away. No! Hannah uttered a frightened wail. These three boys are clearly somebody I need to protect. They're such good kids. Hannah, who are you? What do you want? Behind her, she could hear the crackle of flames now, yellow light flickering behind choking waves of black smoke from the open window. Its fiery eyes glowing brighter, the shadow figure raised itself up, hovering closer, outstretched its arms, preparing to pull her in. Chapter 23. God, this book would be 10 chapters long if it just cut all the fat of nothing happening. Gripped with fear, Hannah raised her hands in front of her as if trying to shield herself. She heard a sudden scrambling at the window, a muffled cry over her head. The shadow figure vanished. They can't see any of them. The shadow figure vanished, and then she felt someone topple onto her. They both fell in the heap in the ground. They both fell in a heap to the ground. Alan! She cried. He struggled to his feet, his eyes wide with panic. The matches! He cried. The matches! We didn't mean to. You didn't mean to. Uh-huh. You didn't mean to, sure. Another figure came diving out of the window as the crackle of the flames grew into a roar. Fred landed hard on his elbows and knees. Fred, are you okay? Danny, he muttered, gazing at her with horror. Danny's in there. He can't get out. What? Hannah leapt to her feet. He's trapped. He's gonna burn. We have to help, Fred said. Wait, can they see her? Fred shouting over. Why don't they just go out through the front door? Unless this weird guy has those double-sided door locks? Then why did they just run out through the front door? Why did they have to climb back out the window they were in? Or they came in from? The boys took off running toward the house next door. Bright yellow and orange flames licked the windowsill above Hannah's head. I have to save Danny, she thought. Why? She took a deep breath, gazing up at the flickering, flashing light in the fire. Then she started toward the open window, but before she could take a step, a light from the window disappeared. The shadow rose in front of her. Hannah, go away! I am tired! Look, Shadow Man. Why don't you just say straight up, hey, you should probably stay away from this kid because A, B, and C, instead of being all weird and scary towards her. With the glowing red eyes, is that necessary? Of course, you're going to scare the shit out of any 12-year-old. You'd scare the shit out of any adult. Go away, Hannah. No, she screamed, forgetting her fear. I have to save Danny. Hannah, you will not save him, came the raspy reply. The dark figure, eyes of fire, hovered over her, blocking Hannah's path to the window. Let me go! I have to save him! Who are you? Hannah shrieked. What are you? What do you want? The dark figure didn't reply, because if he replied, then the book would be over. That is the best part about having a ghost friend. Danny's trapped in there. I have to get him out. Move out of my way, she screamed. You're both ghosts. Just walk through him. She reached out with both hands, grabbed the dark figure by the shoulders, and tried to shove it out of the way. Wow. She She is real sure that she can just force her way past this scary thing. To Hannah's shock, the figure felt solid. Well, yeah. With a determined cry, she raised her hands to his face and tugged. The darkness that cloaked its face fell away, and beneath the darkness, Danny's face was revealed. What? What? Chapter 24. Hannah stared in horror and disbelief. I'm right there with you, Hannah. The sour odor choked her. The darkness continued to wrap around her, holding her prisoner. Danny grinned back at her with the same glowing red eyes as he'd been before unmasked. No! It isn't you, Danny, is it? It isn't. A cruel smile played over the figure's glowing face. I am Danny's ghost, he declared. Ghost? Hannah tried to pull back. She was like, wait, I'm confused. I am Danny's ghost. When he dies in the fire, I will no longer be a shadow. I will be born, and Danny will go to the shadow world in my place. What? No, Hannah shrieked, raising her fists in front of her. Are you gonna fist fight the demon? Now, alright, well, that would be a great ending. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. Danny will not die. You're too late, Hannah, he sneered. Too late. I should have read the Snowman book. Chapter 25. No! Hannah's wail. Sorry. Oh my god. Hannah's wail echoed in the darkness that surrounded her. The ghost Danny's red eyes flared angrily as Hannah burst right through him. Oh, now she remembers she's a fucking ghost. A second. Wait, he said he's Danny's ghost, but Danny's alive. I don't is he gonna take over? If Danny's all burned and stuff, then that means you're just gonna go into like a Freddy Krueger looking kid. Is that what you wanted though? I don't understand your motive, red-eyed Danny. A second later, she was raising her hands to the window ledge. Oh, the sill was hot from the fire. You're a ghost. The fuck do you? Why does it even hurt you? You feel pain too? Oh, that's right. She got knocked over multiple times, and she scraped her ghost knees. Jesus Christ. Ignoring the smoke and the bright wall of fire, Hannah lowered herself heavily onto the floor. I'm a ghost, she told herself. I'm a ghost. I can't die again. Yeah, but you seem to forget that you should be able to go through shit, but you had to crawl through a goddamn window. Danny, I can't see you. Where are you? Shielding her eyes with one... I swear to God, if they say she coughs. Shielding her eyes with one hand because, you know, because smoke hurts her ghost eyes. Wallpaper on one wall had curled down, the blackened corner covered with leaping flames. Danny, where are you? She heard a muffled cry shout from the next room. Dashing through the flame-encircled doorway, she saw him, trapped behind a wall of flames. Danny! I can't... He was back in a corner, his hands raised together in front of him, shielding his face from the smoke. I can't get through those thick flames, Hannah realized in horror. Fucking go! You just said that you're a ghost, Hannah. You just did. This girl. Oh. She took another step into the room and then held back. No way, I can save him. But once again, she reminded herself, oh yeah, that's right, I'm a ghost. I can do things that living people can't do. Help me! Danny's voice sounded tiny and far away behind the leaping waves of flame. Without another second hesitation, Hannah sucked in a deep breath because, you know, with those ghost lungs, and leapt into the flames. Help! He stared at her. He didn't seem to see her. Help! Come on! She grabbed his hand. Let's go! The flames bent towards them like fiery arms. Come on! She tugged again, but he held back. We can't make it! We have to! She shouted, and at least I will make it! Or just banish whoever to the shadow realm, the heart of the cards and whatnot. The end, please. I know, it just keeps going. It says it's 89% done. That's the book says. We're at chapter 25. I think 29 chapters are the norm. She tugged again. We can't. But he held back. We can't make it. We have to. The heat burned her ghost nostrils. Her eyes shut again. God damn it. Her eyes shut against the blinding. Her ghost eyes. All right, I'll stop, but it's ridiculous. We have to. She grabbed his hands with both of hers and pulled. Black smoke whirled around them, choking. She shut her eyes and pulled him into the searing, blistering heat of the flames, into the flames, through them, coughing and choking, dripping with precipitation. Perspiration. I don't know why I said precipitation. Perspiration from the furnace-like heat. Pulled blindly, with all of her might. She didn't open her eyes until they were at the window. Just go through the goddamn front door. Well, I guess there's flashover, but these kids don't know about flashover. She didn't open her eyes until they were at the window. She didn't breathe until they had tumbled into the cool darkness of the ground. And then on her hands and knees, panting so loudly, gasping for clean air, she gazed up. There was the shadow figure near her house, twisting in the flames. As the fire consumed it, it raised its dark arms towards the sky. No! With a relieved sigh, Hannah lowered her gaze to Danny. I get the feeling that R.L. Stine couldn't think of a good twist of who the hell the shadow figure that was bothering Hannah was. He was like, fuck, I'm at like at the very end of the book, but now I don't really know what to do here. With a sigh of relief, Hannah lowered her gaze to Danny. He was lying sprawled on his back. Hannah, he whispered hoarsely, thanks. She felt a smile across her face. Everything turned bright as the wall of flames. Then everything went black. Chapter 26. Danny's mother leaned over him, pulling the light blanket up to his chest. How are you feeling? She asked softly. It was 2 hours later. Danny had been treated by the paramedics who had arrived shortly after the firefighters. Because you're in a lot of fucking trouble, kid. You have no idea how much trouble you're in. They told his worried mother that he had suffered from smoke inhalation and he should probably go to the hospital if he's suffering from smoke inhalation. I'm just saying. And minor burn. Yeah, you should probably go to the hospital. After treating the burns, they drove Danny and Mrs. Anderson home. Really? They should have driven them to the police station. Now Danny lay in bed staring up at her, feeling groggy and dazed. That's probably not good. Mrs. Quilty stood anxiously in the corner, her arms clasped tensively in front of her, looking on in silence. She had hurried over to see what the commotion was. I'm okay, I guess, Danny said, pulling himself up a bit on the pillow. I'm just a little tired. His mother pushed a lock of blonde hair off her forehead as she stared down at him, reading his lips. How did you ever get out? How'd you get out of the house? It was Hannah, Danny told her. Hannah pulled me out. Who? Mrs. Anderson nodded, her face in confusion. Who's Hannah? You know, the girl next door. There's no girl next door. Is there, Molly? His mother said. She turned to read Mrs. Quilty's lips. Mrs. Quilty shook her head. That house is empty. Danny sat up straight. Her name is Hannah Fairchild. She saved my life, Mom. Mrs. Quilty tissed sympathetically. Hannah Fairchild is the girl who died 5 years ago. Poor Danny is a bit delirious, I'm afraid. Just lie back, Danny's mother said, gently pushing him back onto the pillow. Just get some rest. You'll be fine. But where's Hannah? Hannah is my friend. Oh, now she's your friend. How does a ghost even eat? How does a ghost feel pain? How is a ghost affected by the heat of a fire or the smoke? It's so goofy. Get some rest and you'll be fine. Oh, it is my friend. Hannah watched the scene from the doorway. The 3 people in the room couldn't see her, she realized. She had saved Danny's life, and now the room and the people in it were growing faint, fading to gray. Maybe that's why my family and I came back after 5 years, Hannah thought. Maybe we came back to save Danny from dying in the fire as we did. I mean, why did your family come back then? Why wasn't it just you if you were meant to do that? Because your family did shit all. They were just there and then gone. Everyone's a ghost expert suddenly. Artie. Hey, they specifically said ghost, not poltergeist. All right. Hannah. A voice called to her, a sweet, familiar voice from far away. Is that you, Mom? Hannah called. Time to come back, Mrs. Fairchild whispered. You must leave now, Hannah. It's time to come back. Come back. Come back. Okay, Mom. She gazed into the bedroom at Danny, lying peacefully on his pillow. He was fading away now, fading to gray. Hannah squinted into the solid grayness. The house she knew was fading. The earth was fading from her sight. Come back, Hannah, her mother whispered. Come back to us now. Back to us now. Back to us now. Hannah could feel herself floating. As she floated, she gazed down, her last look at earth. I can see him, Mom, she said excitedly, brushing tears off. I can see Danny in his room. But the light is getting faint, so faint. Come back to us. Come back to us, her mother whispered, calling her name. Danny, remember me, Hannah cried as Danny's face appeared clearly in the misty gray. Could he hear her? Could he hear her calling to him? She hoped so. The end. I thought for sure they were gonna pull the rug out one more time and then she was gonna wake up, and it turned out that none of that happened. Like, it was just the mom calling her out of a coma. It's like, oh, thank goodness. We were all in a terrible fire and you've been in a coma. Everyone else is fine, but we thought we were gonna lose you, or some dumb shit like that. That's what I was really expecting. I was really expecting that to happen. Boo! Boo! Yeah, none of these none of these are, See, I didn't read a whole lot of these Goosebumps and reading them now, I'm just wondering, I was like, would I have liked these? I'm sure I would have. I had to have enjoyed these as a small child. You've been in a coma for 34 years. Ooh, that'd be rough. Being in a coma, that's her whole life pretty much gone, because she would be 12 when she was in a coma, so yeah, she'd be nearly 50. That'd be like, no, just put me back in the coma. I'll just live in the weird ghost world for the rest of my being. Yeah, that was not great. How would I rate this book? Oh, Stein. Do not get The Haunted Car. I believe there's already a book about a haunted car, and they also made it into a movie. It is called Christine, R.L. Stein. I get you can't read that book to kids, but come on. See, this is why I can't read. This is why I can't read kids books, or horror books to kids, because I'd have to stop myself from saying, wait, that doesn't make any fucking sense. And just let them enjoy it, because it's like, ugh. The need to say this. What? I know what a 57 Chevy Impala is. Sorry, they you know how they have like the little couple chapters of the next book coming out after? My other car is a TV show. You read it when, god damn, I'm impressed you could comprehend all of that. The Haunted Car is a series 2000 book. Oh, is it really? Oh, okay, so this is a much later one. Well, wait, when was this? Alright, hold on. Scroll. Let me go all the way back to the front. I would love to know when this fucking book was written. Because this is the most phoned in shit I think I've ever seen in my... Wow. No, that can't... Well, this just makes this okay, so this makes me mad. If I'm looking at this correctly, this book was written in 2015? This edition first printing, May 2015. That makes me so mad because by now we know we know how to write kids stories by 2015 and have them be good. Was it when was the Goosebumps movie? Oh, that was like 2017. So okay, all right, neither here nor there, but that makes me mad. Oh, is it early 90s? Okay, because I see that they say the book series was created in 1993. There's like that original copyright, but I wasn't sure if 93 was when the Goosebumps books came out or like when they were first created. But this one says this edition first printing. Oh, I guess it's this edition. It's not the first edition. This edition first print. That's also worded kind of weird. Okay, so all right. I feel a lot better now because I was like, if this is a 2015 story, that is going to make me exceptionally angry. There's this horror movie about a girl who gives birth to a car? What? Man, I'm sure it's one of those goofy ass horror movies that are kind of comedy based, maybe a little bit, but that is some that's I she chose stick without protection. Oh, God damn it, Ernie. That's a good one. You get a soft you get a golf clap for that joke. That was a good one. He's saying she banged a car. Stick shift. And then gave birth to a car. How do you think people give birth to cars? Or else do you think people give birth to cars? Come on. You're just being silly. Woo. Oh, man. I'm still not used to wearing glasses while I read, so at least my eyes aren't super strained anymore, but woo. Okay, so why do I have little dried flowers in my, but I don't remember why they're there. More like stick shift. The logistics of said birth. So is it a car or is it like a transformer? So is it gonna come out like a little transformer baby? That sounds like Optimus Prime. Whew. Oh my goodness. Another disappointing story. I hope y'all enjoyed to sit through 3.5 hours of that. We probably would have been done an hour earlier, but then my internet decided it wasn't going to work for the first try of the stream. And I didn't notice for a good 15 minutes or so. Which was too bad because it was some of the best acting I've ever done. And it was missed. What even is this story? Yeah, it was just they were milling around for 90% of the story, and then it just kind of stopped. They're like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, get out of here! It's like, yeah, I don't want to. I think it might actually. I'm trying to think if I hate this one or the other ghost one, the camp one that made no sense. No, actually, I'm a ghost this whole time. I don't know which one I think is worse. Because they were both pretty fucking terrible. Babies in disguise. But yeah, the whole lady giving birth to a car is a little up there. Kind of like that Werewolf Cop movie, because that was one of those movies that I almost turned off because I was like, this movie is really not funny. It's kind of stupid and boring, and I'm so glad I gave it more of a chance, because it turned out to be one of the funnest movies I'd ever seen. I think it was just called Werewolf Cop. It was on Netflix a million years ago. I don't know if it's still there. It's ridiculous. All right, children. I think it is time to wind down the stream. And you get to leave with the knowledge that there is a movie out there of a woman giving birth to a car, which I'm definitely going to have to Google when I get on. And oh wait, hold on just a second. Let me scroll up real quick because there's something. Go to channel. Let me see if he said he posted it. Yeah, it's a good one. Hold on. I gotta show you guys. So Sepsis, the first stream, for those of you who don't know, the first stream went down. And I had to start it up again. And I'm gonna actually save this. This is funny. I'll post it in Discord too. But look at this. that's the Oh no. So yeah, that's the all right, that's pretty funny. Just staring creepily. That's the way apparently it froze. All right. Then there was one of the Howling movies where it takes place on I think I remember that. Pretty sure. The host was a ghost all along. Ghost with the most, baby. Don't I know it? All right. I'm gonna get off now because I'm hungry and I want some spaghetti because that's what it sounds. That sounds really good. So that's what I'm gonna have for dinner. So I'm gonna say goodnight, and I'll wait. Yes, and I'll see you guys next Friday. I'll figure out more times to stream because now